Monday edition of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Mike Gill, we hope to hear from Mike Gill at some point during the show. He may pop in when you least expect him to. Mike will be back in the studio tomorrow here on 97.3 ESPN. But for the next 4 hours, you and me talking about the dumpster fire that is the Phillies bullpen. Eagles, another offensive lineman locked up long-term. The Cam Jurgens deal is actually a little more favorable to the Eagles than some people are reporting out there in the media. We'll get into that. Plus, as always, you guys can join the conversation, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Josh Hennig live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios. And maybe, just maybe at some point today, I will get to WrestleMania 41. But off the top rope, we got to go with, it's great that the Phillies won the series this weekend. It's fine that they found a way to salvage the homestand. It's all well and good that they made up for the losing road trip by winning 4 of the last 7 games. But it doesn't make up for the reality that this Phillies team is in a ton of trouble, because they are trending in a direction that is incredibly concerning. While the Phillies offense has finally woken up, while it's great that Jose Luzardo is pitching well, when you have the worst bullpen in all of baseball, does the rest of the information really matter? For those who might not have known, the Philadelphia Phillies have the second worst bullpen ERA in all of baseball. They have the most blown saves in all of baseball. A 5.81 ERA and 6 blown saves. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting deja vu to 2021. I'm getting deja vu vibes to the year when the Phillies couldn't do anything right. To the year when the Phillies constantly went to the bullpen and you were basically either stressing out immensely or you just gave up on the game and assumed they were going to lose. You see, back in 2021, when the Phillies led Major League Baseball with 34 blown saves. And remember, some of us were like, wow, they got Ian Kennedy at the deadline. And we all get excited about that. Oh boy, you almost wish for those days. The Phillies right now have blown 6 saves this season. They are on pace to have 44 blown saves. 10 more they did in 2021. Right now, there are only 2 players in the Phillies bullpen with an ERA under 3. Jose Alvarado with a 2.53. By the way, Alvarado perfect in save opportunities, 5 for 5. And Matt Strahm has a 1.74 ERA. Most games pitched in for the Phillies this year. There is not a single other Phillies bullpen arm with an under 3 ERA. And for all we can say about, hey, Bryce Harper's bat is waking up. And man, Bryson Stott, he's proved a lot of the doubters wrong about him in the leadoff spot. For all the positives, we talk about Nick Castellanos batting over 300. Who would have guessed that coming into the year? The bullpen may be what kills this team. The bullpen may be the end of everything for this team. Because it doesn't matter how good Zach Wheeler, Jesus Luzardo, and Christopher Sanchez may pitch from night to night. The reality is that when you get to the bullpen, you don't have any hope. You don't have any belief. You're telling me that when Joe Ross or Tanner Banks or Jordan Romano, get to him in a minute, by the way, comes in, Jose Ruiz, Carlos Hernandez, Tanner Banks, you have any part of your body that says everything's going to be all right? There's no Bob Marley song playing when those guys come into the game. It's Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill. It's not everything's okay. It's a nightmare. It's a hope of a dream that's never going to happen. And for all the talent Kerkering has, I don't know if this guy's having confidence issues or if he's just overthinking. But the reality is that when anyone not named Alvarado or Strom come in for the bullpen, you and I are both stressing. And what makes everything worse is that two guys who were here last year are pitching very well. It's almost like a slap in the face. It's like watching your ex start dating someone who makes more money than you. That's what it is like watching Jeff Hoffman and Carlos Estevez out there pitching so well. Jeff Hoffman with a 1.59 ERA, Carlos Estevez with a 0.90 ERA. It's watching them smiling after games, both of them with 5 saves. Two pitchers who were on your team last year. And you'll let them walk. Now, the Hoffman situation, I will admit, is a little complicated because the reality is that Hoffman had some injury questions. There were teams like the Braves and the Orioles who would not sign him for the money he wanted. And so, you know, the Hoffman situation, I can't hold that against the Phillies too much. I can't look at that situation and say that was all the Phillies' fault. But you're telling me you couldn't have brought back Carlos Estevez, of all people? And you look at how well he is pitching right now for a team in Kansas City. Kansas City doesn't spend big money, but they spent 2 years and $22 million on Estevez. You're telling me that a pitcher with an 0.90 ERA and 5 saves isn't worth 2 years, $22 million? I don't think it's an overpay at all. And in fact, the second year is a club option. So it's actually a 1-year deal with a $2 million buyout, and you might have to pay the second year. That's the deal he got from the Royals. But you said, you know what? That's a little bit too rich for Philadelphia. So let's bring in Carlos Hernandez to shore up the back end of the bullpen, along with Joe Ross. We all really like that Tanner Banks guy. Yeah, gets us all excited. And then you have the Jordan Romano experience, which is more like Final Destination if you ever watched those movies, because it's like the worst case scenario seems to happen every time this guy comes into a game. And it was the full experience of who's going to beat up the guy this time. And it's all cool that Jordan Romano wants to come out after the game and saying, man, I got destroyed. That was a bad job by me. I got to pitch better. He said a few games ago, my mechanics are off. I got to get better. It's all great when taking accountability, but it's not great when the manager of the team says that he still has faith in the guy. Faith in what? Faith in the reality that Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde is going to be on the mound? This guy allowed 6 runs. You had 11-4 lead. You had to bring in Jose Alvarado on Saturday in a game that wasn't necessary because this guy who claims I thought I had great stuff tonight. Well, you didn't, obviously, because they were hitting everything. And then when he gets asked, hey, do you think you might have been tipping your pitches? You know, I got to go look at the film and see if that's a reality. What's the Phillies doing with this guy? As if the entire season wasn't bad enough. If it wasn't bad enough that this guy walked into the game on Saturday afternoon on a beautiful weekend in South Jersey and Philadelphia, and we're all like, it's a beautiful day, Phillies are winning, and here comes Jordan Romano, and you think, well, he hasn't allowed a run since April 6th. Maybe he's finally turning it around. He's got a 9 ERA, but that keeps going down, down, down. And maybe with an 11-4 lead and no pressure, this guy, and before you can get the words out of your mouth, homer, runs, crushed. And with every pitch you threw, you were thinking, what is going on? And the Phillies thought this guy was going to replace Hoffman and Estevez. And yes, again, it's cute that he wants to say, my bad, I didn't do a good job. But let's be realistic. One of those games that he pitched well this year, JT Realmuto saved him. Throwing out that runner against the Dodgers? Yeah. The Phillies have a dumpster fire in their bullpen, and for whatever reason, they have this theory that Bob Marley is telling them everything's going to be all right. Nothing is all right. Josh Hennig filling in here for Mike Gill, 973 ESPN. Gets your text in just a bit at 609-403-0973. Now, the positive over the weekend, as I said, you get Bryce Harper's bat waking up. And can we take a moment to talk about Bryson Stott? Bryson Stott has proven people, like myself, wrong about him as a leadoff hitter. I think Stott is doing exactly what he's supposed to do for one reason. Since Bryson Stott became the Phillies' leadoff hitter, Bryson Stott is averaging 7 pitches seen per at bat. It's one of the best in all of baseball. He has legitimately turned into the exact player Philadelphia needed at the top of the lineup. Because him seeing more pitches is helping Turner, Harper, Schwarber, and Castellanos. Him seeing 7 pitches per at bat is the real value for them right now. In the 8 games, Bryson Stott has been the leadoff hitter. He's batting .294. He's got a .342 on base percentage. And how about the stat that people like myself, because it wasn't just me, people like myself are wrong about? He's got 5 RBI. See, my concern was when you got to the top of the lineup, when you turned the lineup over after that 9-hitter, you had guys like Schwarber and Turner at the top, guys who have a history of being able to knock in runs. And my concern was, is Stott going to be able to do that? Bryson Stott has more RBI in the leadoff spot than he had the whole rest of the year before leading off. Yeah, he had 5 RBI, batting 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. He has 5 alone in the leadoff spot. He also has 3 stolen bases, 3 walks. Maybe cut down the strikeouts might be nice, but overall, we got to give this guy a ton of credit. This was a move the Phillies made that some of us had questions about, and the Phillies got this one right. They might not have gotten the bullpen right. They may have completely just bungled the entire situation of building the bullpen, but putting Stott in leadoff has paid off. And when you look at the rest of this team, when you look at the rest of this lineup, you realize that this team is now benefiting with Stott in the leadoff spot. So if nothing else, the offense is coming around. That is the good news. Now, I don't know if you can ask the offense to constantly score 11 runs a game just in case Jordan Romano comes in and can't get a guy out. But the fact that Nick Castellanos is batting .304 on the year, just don't hit him cleanup, you're fine. Hit behind Schwarber. And Bryce Harper, his last 5 games. Maybe it's just the weather warming up, but Bryce Harper is warm, folks. He is catching fire right now. In his last 5 games alone, he has 9 RBI in those games, 2 home runs. And on top of all of that, he's getting on base. He has 6 walks. Bryce Harper looks like MVP Harper again. And if they can just figure out what is going on in center field moving forward and in left field, I think they're going to be fine. Obviously, it kind of is a demotion, but Brandon Marsh basically going on injury reserve is a nice way for the Phillies to send him to the minors to get some work, which we thought was a knee injury. Now we're being told is a hamstring problem. The hamstring is a nice way for them to act like the injury is worse than it really is, to make him have more time in the minor leagues. But let Marsh go down there. Give him until Memorial Day weekend so he can go out there and come back better. Because right now, the Phillies are at least getting serviceable work from Rojas. Now, I don't know if I want to see Cal Stevenson up here every day. Again, the obsession with left-handed hitting by this team is just absolutely insane. Let's see what you guys have to say. 609-403-0973. Drew from Delaware says, bring up Painter and Mcgarry, please. Well, Drew, there's one problem. Painter's not ready yet. He's still going through the rehab process. He's still going through the process of basically ramping up his arm. The Phillies keep targeting that July timetable. That's when Dombrowski and John Middleton and everyone keeps bringing up is July-ish. Griff Mcgarry, Mick Abel, they don't know if they solved their problem with your bullpen, though. Frankly, Drew in Delaware, I'm glad you brought up the young players because I've been wondering for a while, why didn't this team look at a guy like Mick Abel, who has struggled as a starting pitcher, and say, Mick, we still value you as a pitcher. We know you have talent, but you obviously are struggling as a starting pitcher. Why don't we turn you into a bullpen pitcher? Now, I will admit, he is having his best year in the minors since 2022 right now. But it's still a 3.0 ERA. He is still a guy who is giving up home runs. He's cut down the walks. That's a big deal. Still has a high strikeout to inning ratio. But I would have said, Drew in Delaware, hey, why not take a guy like Mick Abel, who's got an electric arm, and just convert him into a bullpen pitcher? Did with Brett Myers years ago. Jeff from Motion City chimes in, says the Phillies need starters to go 8 innings. I'm ready for the draft party on Thursday. Yeah, Jeff from Motion City is one of the qualifiers for the Eagles draft party. Just a reminder, folks, you want to join Mike Gill in the Sports Bash this Thursday at the Gallery inside Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City for your opportunity to win Eagles Club Box seats. All qualifiers We have asked all of you to be in attendance by around 4:30 p.m. The Eagles tickets will be given away in the 5 o'clock hour, but every hour there will be giveaways of prizes from Ocean Casino and Resort, so you want to get out there as early as possible to join Mike Gill and the Sports Bash this Thursday at the Gallery inside Ocean Casino and Resort in Atlantic City. And yes, you can bring a friend, a significant other, whatever you want to do. Just make sure they are 21 or older, because this is a gambling establishment, the Gallery, with a bar. So please be responsible with who you're bringing to this party. All right. I'll get some more text a little bit later this hour. I do see Ian in Northfield. He has something to say now about the Phillies, but we'll get to that a little bit later this hour. But coming up next, Mike Mcgarry, the press of Atlantic City. He will join us to get more into this Phillies team. The bullpen is a dumpster fire. Mike Mcgarry, what do you have to say? We'll ask him next on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday edition of the Sports Bash.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Stay comfortable with Broadleaf's plumbing, heating, and air conditioning in every season. From expert repairs to system replacements, Broadleaf's has you covered. Join their family comfort plan for priority service, repair savings, and worry-free annual maintenance. Broadleaf's offers free quotes, rebates, and 0% financing on system installs. So give Broadleaf's, your local factory authorized Bryant dealer, a call today at 609-390-3907 or visit broadleafs.net.
It's time to find appliances that fit your needs and your style at the Home Depot. Shop Spring Black Friday savings and get up to 35% off select appliances like GE Profile, plus free delivery. From all-in-one washer-dryer combos that can wash and dry a full load in under 2 hours to feature-loaded refrigerators with built-in autofill water pitchers, GE Profile has appliances made to
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card, good for use at Provenza Restaurant and Event Center on Wellington Avenue in Ventnor for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
2:28 here on a Monday edition of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. We'll get back to text a little bit later this hour. Keep them coming in, 609-403-0973. But right now, as promised, sure, the Phillies have won 4 of their last 7. But they might have the worst bullpen in baseball. And as I said before, Mike Mcgarry joins us. I'm getting Deja Vu vibes 2021. Is that fair? Well, that's Mike Mcgarry now for the Press of Atlantic City. His extra point columns over at pressofac.com. He joins us now on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, how you doing on this Monday?
Doing well, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing all right, but I'm trying to not have deja vu. So is it fair of me to be looking at this situation with the bullpen and think about 2021 all over again?
Well, I don't think it's quite bad as 2021. I remember if it was 2021 or 2020 when then manager Joe Girardi said in the offseason, I think we could have told the other team what we were throwing, and our guys could have pitched better if the other team knew what was coming. I don't think it's quite that bad right now, but they definitely have struggled. You know, Jordan Romano and Orion Kirkring have struggled. They definitely have been used a lot, and they appear to be an arm short in the bullpen right now, at least an arm short.
Well, what's crazy, Mike, is that, you look at who they don't have right now, right? It's like Estevez. He's got an 0.90 ERA in Kansas City. Hoffman, he's got 5 saves in 10 appearances, a 1.59 ERA. Either one of those guys right now will be better instead of Jordan Romano, who I don't even know what you do with this guy, Mike. He keeps taking accountability for not pitching well, but that doesn't fix anything.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote today at pressofac.com, I mean, were they right to let go of Jeff Hoffman and Carlos Estevez? And the early returns say they should have kept one of those guys. Now, there's questions about both of those guys. And let's remember, when Carlos Estevez was last seen in a Phillies uniform, he was turning and looking toward center field as a Francisco Lindor grand slam left Citi Field and basically doomed the Phillies' fate. Jeff Hoffman has some medical issues and got a lot of money from the Baltimore issues. You know, the Braves signed him. They took a look at his medicals, and they didn't want to go there. Toronto kind of kicked the tires on Hoffman. They also didn't go there. So, yeah, right now, letting both of those guys walk does not look like a great move for the Philadelphia Phillies.
You know, you look at this team, Mike, and only Alvarado and Strahm have ERAs under 3 right now out of the bullpen. They have the second worst bullpen ERA in baseball. Is this something that you think can be rectified over the course of the season, or does Dave Dombrowski have to start picking up that phone and start making some moves sooner than later?
Yeah, I think this is a problem that can be fixed, right? And you know, bullpen guys are available during trade deadline talks, right? And every year you see guys add to their bullpen. So there's going to be some bullpen guys out there that can fix this situation. In the meantime, I think the Phillies are going to look to fix it in-house, either straighten out Jordan Romano or, get Orion Kirkring going. Right now, you basically need 4 relievers back there right now. And right now, you have 2, maybe 2.5. You have Strahm, you have Alvarado. Kirkring has been okay. He hasn't been great. So maybe there's 2.5 guys back there that you trust. You need 4. Can you fix it from within, or do you have to go outside the organization? That's how the situation is going to play out over the next couple of weeks.
Talking to Mike Mcgarry from the Press of Atlantic City. at AC Press Mcgarry over on the Twitter X platform. As the Phillies, they lose yesterday, but they did win 4 out of 7 in the homestand, Mike. And, I think one of the topics on the positive side of the ledger, right, the bullpen is the dumpster fire. That's the thing that we're all losing our mind over. But there is a huge positive recently, Mike. And I got to admit, I was wrong. I was questioning the Bryson Stott as the leadoff hitter. But Mike, he has shown himself to be more than adequate. He's got a .292 batting average as a leadoff hitter. He's got 5 RBI as a leadoff hitter. And, Mike, he's seeing 7 pitches per at bat as a leadoff hitter. So he has done above and beyond his job.
Yeah, it almost seems like being in the leadoff spot has kind of revitalized him, right? We're seeing him, driving the ball, to left field. We see him pulling the ball to right field. We don't see him swinging and dropping to one knee as much as we used to. We see him, as you said, seeing a lot of pitches, and there's no doubt that lineup, Stott, Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, that's a pretty good 5 there, and they've been very productive. It'll be interesting to see if Rob Thompson gives Stott a chance to bat leadoff against lefties going forward. Maybe that's the next step in this equation, but I agree with you. Bryson Stott looks like a different player and a different hitter when he bats in the leadoff spot as opposed to batting, 7th or 8th in the order.
When you think about what you just named, Mike, the Stott, Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos 5, right? Is that a 5 that you think they're going to stick with for as long as possible? Because I feel like right now you got to stick with what's working, right? You can't be flipping the lineup over too much more if something's working.
Yeah, I agree 110%. Stick with what works. Stick with what is working. And I think for years, we've listened to the traditionalists. Get Schwarber out of the leadoff spot. Get him in the 4-hole where you can take advantage of his power more. And I think he gives Bryce Harper a lot of protection. Maybe Harper sees more pitches to hit because you've got Schwarber behind him. So, yeah, that 5, I think they found something with that 5, and I like it. I like it from the Stott perspective. I like it how it's kind of jump-started Harper. I like Schwarber in the 4-hole. I like Castellanos at the 5-hole. I think that's a really good lineup. And again, the only thing I would say is, are we going to see Stott start to bat first against lefties? We'll see if that progresses, see how that goes. I'd like to see them try that. I'd like to see them give Stott a try and see if he can be the full-time leadoff guy. He just plays with so much more energy, Josh, when he's batting first as opposed to 7th or 8th. And you've also got a lot of speed at the top of that lineup right now. With Stott and Turner, you got guys on, you can run. You can hit and run. You can steal bases and stuff like that. You don't have that when you've got, Schwarber, Turner going 1-2.
Absolutely. And by the way, they're going to have an opportunity to test that theory of yours, Mike, because this upcoming series with the Mets, David Peterson, he's going to be pitching Wednesday afternoon. First 2 games of the series are right-handers. So would you say, hey, let's Stott play against Peterson to see what happens?
Yeah, let's see what happens, especially if Stott continues to play well and continues to see a lot of pitches today and tomorrow. If he has 2 good games, I'd see what he can do on Wednesday there. But I got a feeling it might depend a lot on how he looks tonight and tomorrow. But if he looks like he has the past couple of days, watch him see if he can really grab that leadoff spot against both righties and lefties.
Sticking with the pitching staff, talk with Mike Mcgarry of the Press of Atlantic City. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, Aaron Nola, he is on the mound tonight, and I know that he has struggled. I know he has been the Nola coaster, right? But I'm almost wondering, and maybe this is me overthinking it, Marchand has been his catcher for these first few starts. Is it maybe just having Real Muto back there? Could that maybe make a difference tonight?
Well, I don't know. We'll see. I think this is a very big start for Aaron Nola. Up here, Citi Field, big series, rematch of the division series. The Mets have some guys, namely Juan Soto, who have owned Aaron Nola in the past. So I think this is a big start for him. Nola in the second year of that $170 million deal, He's thrown an awful lot of pitches the past couple of years, a lot of bullets out of that arm. I'm a bit concerned. Velocity down, command down. I'd like to see Nola sort of straighten it out and deliver an outstanding outing tonight. I think this is a big start for him.
This is a very interesting road trip because remember, Mike, the last road trip, the Phillies struggled. Do you think they can do any better this time round with the 3 games with the Mets and then the 3 games in Chicago versus the Cubs?
Yeah, I think this is a big trip, right? And to me, right now, if we're talking, I mean, I don't know about you, but I would sign for 3-3. If they go 3-on-3 in this trip, I think they'll be just fine. 2-4 or 1-5 and 0-6 is no good. 3-3 is what I would sign for. 4-2 would be a very, very good trip. But they're going on the road to 2 tough places to play against 2 very good baseball teams. The Mets just took 4 from the St. Louis Cardinals. First time since 1986 that the Mets have swept a 4-game series from the St. Louis Cardinals. So they're going in there playing a hot baseball team. So, yeah, put me down for 3-3 on this trip, and I think the Phillies would be happy to get back to Citizens Bank Park next week after that.
And by the way, one of my favorite storylines of this road trip, Mike, the scheduled pitcher for the Cubs on Saturday. How about that Ben Brown the Phillies traded away for Dave Robertson a few years ago? They got to see him on Saturday. How about that storyline?
I mean, he has pitched very well for him, and you kind of look at that's one of those deals now where you kind of look at and say, boy, did we give away too much? Because Ben Brown has done well for the Chicago Cubs, and David Robertson, other than, I think injuring his calf, jumping up and down after Bryce Harper hit the Bedlam at the bank home run, I don't think David Robinson made quite the impression on the Phillies that he has in the past.
That's absolutely true. Hey, Mike, before I let you go, I did see you on social media about WrestleMania this weekend, and one of your tweets at AC Press Mcgarry during the triple threat match, you said, "This is the greatest wrestling match I've ever seen." Are you sticking to that after watching the Reigns versus Punk versus Rollins match?
Stick with that, Josh. I thought it was an outstanding match. The twists and turns. I'm a big Paul Heyman guy, so Paul Heyman, double-crossing CM Punk and then double-crossing Roman Reigns and actually aligning himself with Seth Rollins. I thought it was an outstanding match. But here's what I'll say, Josh. As good as Saturday night was, I thought last night the Cena-Cody Rhodes match, huge disappointment. Did not like the ending whatsoever. Expected more drama, maybe some more guest appearances, but I thought as good as Saturday night was, and that was one of the most entertaining wrestling matches I've ever seen. And you're talking to a guy who in Staten Island saw Ivan Putski versus Jesse the Body Ventura at Wagner College in 1974. So I'll throw my wrestling knowledge out there with anybody. I think Saturday night was tremendous. I thought last night, and I was pumped for that match, I thought last night was a disaster, a complete letdown. I give Saturday night an A. I give last night an F.
Yeah, I think if you looked at every match last night, Mike, leading up to Cena versus Rhodes, it was a great night. I especially thought Becky Lynch making the surprise appearance was a massive thumbs up for me. I didn't mind necessarily the ending because it felt very poetic that, Cena gets to pass the guy who's the dirtiest player in the game, being a dirty player himself. I'm with you, though, at the guest appearances. Like, Travis Scott's at the guest appearance we wanted. We wanted to see the final boss. We wanted to see other people show up for this match. Maybe someone come the Cody Rhodes aid would have been nice.
Yeah, we wanted what we had last year in Philadelphia, where you had The Rock come out, you had The Undertaker come out. That's what we wanted, and we didn't get it, and I just didn't like the match. Maybe I was expecting too much after how good Saturday night was. I thought to myself, maybe Sunday will be even better, and it wasn't. And as far as the rest of the matches, hey, Josh, Bruce Springsteen can play 25 songs in a row, but if he mangles Born to Run, the show is ruined. And you can have all bats in a row, but if you mangle the main event, the show is ruined.
Gotcha. I got you, Mike. AC Press Mcgarry is where he is on the Twitter X platform. PressOfAtlanticCity.com for all of his coverage. And, of course, he joins us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on the Sports Bash. Mike, great stuff. Appreciate you jumping on. We'll talk soon.
All right, we'll see you down the road, Josh. Thank you very much.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. All right, we got some text to get to coming up on the other side. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. All right, Stephen Ventnor got to get you your text and more coming up as well. Don't forget Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad. He'll join us coming up in about 17 minutes. We'll ask Bob his thoughts on the Phillies dumpster fire bullpen. Also, still to come, football for Adam Caplan is jumping on today. We'll get his thoughts on the Cam Jurgens signing. Yes, Cam Jurgens contract extension. You can get all the details right now at 973ESPN.com and the 973 ESPN mobile app, where I put up an article detailing everything you need to know about Jurgens' deal. Check it out. I'll get to that as well coming up as well here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Want to stay out of the dark the next time a storm hits? Then reach out to Calvi Electric, a certified Generac dealer. From installation to maintenance, they're your go-to experts for Generac generators, ensuring your home stays powered through any storm. A Generac home standby generator will automatically restore power to your home during an outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Put your trust in Calvi Electric, the premier electrical contractor serving South Jersey for over 115 years. Visit calvielectric.com today and stay ahead of any storm.
With Progressive, it's easy to reach customer service with our app, website, chat, or by phone. Because when getting help is hard, it's not help at all.
Little help. A little help over here.
Thank you for calling Bench Press Assistance.
What?
Due to excessive gym volume, all available spotters are currently lifting heavy weights off the chests of other bench pressers.
Seriously?
Please continue to hold, and we will remove the barbell from your chest in the order in which your cry for help was received.
Getting assistance should be easy. With Progressive, it is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Right now at the Home Depot, shop Spring Black Friday savings up to 35% off select appliances plus free delivery from top brands like Samsung. Get tech you can trust to simplify your daily routines. From all-in-one washer dryers to smart refrigerators with Family Hub. Upgrade your kitchen and laundry with trusted technology from Samsung, ranked #1 in customer satisfaction. Get Spring Black Friday appliance savings and free delivery now at the Home Depot. Visit jdpower.com/awards for more details. Free delivery on appliance purchases of $396 or more. Offer valid April 3rd through April 23rd. U.S. only. See store online for details.
O'Reilly. Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. The service is free and provides a report with solutions verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we could recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Cinco de Mayo is near, and the celebration starts at Total Wine & More, your cocktail central. Whether you're shaking up fresh margaritas, sipping on a crisp cerveza, or savoring a smooth tequila, Total Wine is your fiesta celebration destination. So stop by your local Total Wine & More and make this Cinco de Mayo the best one yet. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Welcome to Staples.
Hi, I hear Staples prints it all.
Oh, you bet. Posters, banners.
Can you print it all for Mother's Day?
Oh, of course. Photo gifts like canvas prints, photo puzzles.
Can you print it all for graduation?
Sure can. Custom cards and invites.
Can you print a huge banner with the grad's picture?
Oh, definitely.
Even an embarrassing baby picture?
Oh, those are the best kind.
I know, right?
Print it all for moms and grads at Staples. And right now, get 40% off custom cards, invites, and photo gifts. N75 exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
With GMF financing, qualified buyers excludes Traverse and Corvette excludes prior sales.
Why is Bennett Chevrolet the area's most popular dealer? It's simple. Bennett sells new Chevys at the true GM supplier employee prices, not a penny more. Plus, Bennett gives you all the rebates, saving you up to 20% on your new vehicle. And there's more. Bennett's got available 0% financing, saving you even more money. And there's never any hassles, no haggles, just the best prices you can find. Plus, if you're looking for pre-owned, Bennett's giving you a minimum $10,000 for any trade you can bring. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for any vehicle you can get here. And you guessed it, there's no hassles, no haggles, just a minimum 10 grand for any trade. Savings up to 20% on new vehicles. A minimum $10,000 for any trade towards any pre-owned in stock. And there's never any hassles, no haggles, and no negotiating needed with our non-commissioned sales team. They're paid on your satisfaction. Together, let's drive. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
This place, it's rocking. I love this city.
That was Cam Jurgens just a few months ago after the NFC Championship win, which led to Super Bowl 59. Cam Jurgens is now one of 4 Eagles offensive linemen who is signed long-term. Cam Jurgens' new 4-year contract makes him the 3rd highest guaranteed money of any center in the NFL, behind the Chiefs' Creed Humphreys and the Lions' Frank Ragnow. Cam Jurgens now signed through 2029. Jordan Mailata signed through 2028, along with Landon Dickerson, and Lane Johnson signed through 2027. And I think in many ways this deal was predictable. Maybe not before the draft, but he was entering what could have been the final year of his rookie deal. Now, there was an option for a 5th year, but Philadelphia basically scrapped that and said, you know what, we're going to give you this contract. And I would just remind people, don't get hung up on the AAV, the average annual value, because we know that that number is a bit of a fugazi, right? That number is a bit of a fraudulent number because that's what the agents want you to look at. The agent for a player wants you to look at, see how much maximum money they can get. The real number is the guaranteed money. The guaranteed money has him in the conversation with the top centers in the league. And for me, this is an example of Philadelphia paying Cam Jurgens for what's to come. They're not paying him for what he has done, because he's only had 1 year starting at center. But that 1 year, he was a Pro Bowl center. And there are people wondering, why would you give a guy who just had back surgery that kind of long-term extension? Well, just a month and a half ago, Cam Jurgens said this on the Takeoff with John Clark podcast, where he talked about the pain in his back. It was nerve pain. It wasn't like he had like back fusion surgery or spinal realignment or anything like that. Here's what Cam Jurgens had to say about it.
It was just tough, getting through the playoffs and just feeling all that nerve pain. I mean, nerve pain with your back is, different. It's just hard to, really rehab and do anything about that when you just got something pushing on a nerve. And that's just, the procedure kind of took care of that and, helped it a ton.
And he says later in the podcast that he is so much better now. They relieve that nerve being pinned in his back because of the disc. And I think that the Eagles don't give him this contract unless he was medically cleared. Today is the first day, the first week, the Eagles are back in the building. There's no OTAs, but it's not mandatory. It's voluntary workouts. Players can come in, work out with the team. Guys like A.J. Brown are back in town. I think the Phillies brought Cam Jurgens in. They gave him a physical. He got such a clean bill of health after the surgery. The Eagles said, you know what? Let's give him the contract. Get it over with. And by the way, this contract extension saves the Eagles approximately $3.4 million on this year's salary cap. So again, Howie Roseman doing what Howie Roseman does, making sure a guy gets paid, but also saving himself money moving forward. All right, before we get out of here, a couple texts on the text board to get to 609-403-0973. Now, Steven Ventnor, I'm not going to read through every single name you send in because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have time right now doing my job and filling in for Mike Gill to vet every name that you put on here. So I'm instead going to focus on one specific text from you. You deserve credit because you were the first person that I saw say the Phillies should put Stott in the leadoff spot, okay? So you're going to get credit for that. The rest of the text about who the Phillies could get as a bullpen pitcher, I have no way of verifying any of that information right now. So I'll get back to you tomorrow. But I think Steven Ventnor, for as much as we have criticized you over the years, you deserve credit because you did say Stott should be the leadoff hitter before anyone else did. Finally, before we get out of here, Ian in Northfield has a Flyers question. And I don't know where this is coming from, Ian, but I'm going to read it anyway. Ian says, isn't the Flyers organization's job to let players go on to successful with other teams instead of the Phillies? I mean, maybe the old Flyers organization. Maybe the Flyers under, Ron Hextall and guys like that, Paul Holmgren. Different front office now, Ian. Have a little faith. Have a little faith in Keith Jones and Danny Briere right now. Listen, the Dombrowski bullpen retool so far has probably been his biggest failure in his time here in Philadelphia. We'll get more into the Phillies bullpen coming up next with Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea City.
This Friday, April 25th, get to Boardwalk Honda between 2 and 6 for your chance to see history. The Birds Championship Trophy will be on display during a live broadcast of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Snap a pic with a trophy that sealed the Birds' big game victory. And while you're there, lock in your spring savings. Boardwalk Honda has over 200 Hondas in stock. Cars, SUVs, trucks, ready for immediate delivery. Only at Boardwalk Honda on Tilton Road in Egg Harbor Township or online at boardwalkhonda.com.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, cause you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
As a fan, you know all the important sports cliches. And when you save money by bundling your home and auto with Progressive, you can get out there and give it 110%, even though that's mathematically impossible. And remember, failure is not an option. Well, it's always an option, just not a good one. But you're not worried because you've got ice in your veins. You're on fire. How can both of those things be true at the same time? Well, that's between you and your doctor. So get out there and leave it all on the field. Leave what? Who cares? Just leave it and save with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
New Jersey's got a lot of summer wow. From sun and wows to fun and wows. And every wow in between. Find your wow at visitnj.org. New Jersey, little state, lot of wow.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. That does give us certain advantages, for example, in focus and resources. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Cordell & Cordell, a partner you can count on.
Philadelphia, Radnor, Allentown, and Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Michelle Ferreri, licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois.
For 75 years, Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning has been the name you trust, where one call does it all. Jenkins expert technicians have been delivering top-notch service to local homeowners. Renovating your kitchen or bath? Call Jenkins. Need a new heating or air conditioning system, service or maintenance, or even ductless air conditioning? Jenkins has you covered. They also specialize in water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing and drain cleaning, water line, and sewer main repairs or replacements. Call 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandsons.com today.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him. It's a sack.
Sixers.
Oh, baby.
And Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort studio, here's Mike Gill.
I really like the Phillies, and mostly because of the depth of their starting pitching. To me, that's going to be the difference maker. You also have brought over a Jesus Luzardo into the fold now, trading him with the Marlins. And this is a situation now where the guys in the middle of that order have started banging early. They've needed offensive support in the very beginning of the season. They've already gotten that. The Mets look good, but the pitching, to me, isn't as deep as the Phillies.
That was former Major Leaguer Xavier Scruggs last night on ESPN's Baseball Tonight. He likes the Phillies because of the depth of their starting pitching. But as we will ask Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad, does it matter if your starting pitching is any good, if your bullpen is a dumpster fire? Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill, live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN. And as promised, Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad joins us now to get more into the Phillies. They have won 4 out of 7, Bob, but I'm starting to get some deja vu of 2021 with this bullpen. How you doing today?
What's up, Josh? How are you? Good to talk to you. It's been a little bit of an up and down here for the Phillies, but I don't know that I would quite go to 2021 levels of bad, but it's not a good start, and statistically, it's actually right there. So I don't know how far off it is, I guess.
Well, I did the math, so they're on pace for 44 blown saves this year, which is 10 more than 2021 had. Now, I don't think they're going to get there, obviously, but the idea though is that you have the second worst ERA right now of any bullpen in baseball. And it's like only Alvarado and Strom have under 3 ERA. So, how much of this, Bob, is it's early in the year? How much of it is Jordan Romano was a huge mistake? How much of it is Dave Dombrowski, swinging and missing on a couple of guys? Like, how do you quantify a team? They won 4 of the last 7, but man, 2 straight days, the bullpen looks ugh.
Yeah, I think let's start with the overall record. Like, they have won 4 out of their last 7, and they are 13-9, and that's a 95 win pace. And like, I think everybody can do math, and I think everybody can look at it and say, all right, like, overall, like, is this team doomed? Do they have no shot to make the playoffs? No, but the reality of it is, including this weekend in which they win a series, you just watch the team play, and you know that they have some significant deficiencies. They're real deficiencies, and we're having this conversation about the bullpen, and I think it's warranted. You look at what they have on paper right now, and you feel good about Strom, you feel good about Alvarado. They go out and they sign Jordan Romano, and it's been a total disaster. I mean, the guy's ERA is over 15 right now, and he had 3 scoreless outings before the Saturday blow up. He's touching 99.5 miles an hour. The velo's up, and you're like, okay, like, maybe this guy's turning the corner. And then it's just one of the worst relief appearances that I can remember for this organization in recent history. So I don't think you can look at him right now and say, all right, I feel like he's trending in the right direction. I think you'd be hard pressed at this point to say that this is a guy that you can depend on to take down big outs late in games. And so then who else do you feel good about from the right side? Kirkering? Like, and look, you look at his overall numbers since he's come into the league, and they're solid. And he's a nice arm, and I think that he, in time, will develop into a more dependable late inning reliever. But even Orion Kirkering right now, there's some inconsistencies in his game, especially when games are tight, especially in high leverage situations. He's really struggled so far this year in what Baseball Reference deems to be high leverage. And in 2024, he wasn't phenomenal. He wasn't lights out in high leverage situations. And so he needs to be a little bit more consistent. But because Romano has been so bad, that puts more of an intense spotlight on Kirkering to do the job. And oh, by the way, Josh, you look at the major league leaders in relief appearances right now, it's 12. Alvarado's made 11, Strom's made 11, Kirkering's made 9. I tweeted out yesterday, for me, it's not that those guys didn't pitch well yesterday. It's that they're going to kill these guys by July because there's only 3 quasi-dependable arms that you can go to when a game is tight late.
And if you only have a couple guys you can depend on, it's going to give everybody stress, right? You know, and probably the players in the field, too. There's probably, and I can't speak for the guys, but, you know how it is, Bob. We have all seen players look around being like, great, he's coming into the game. So, like, you don't want that. And it doesn't help, Bob, that right now, Estevez, 0.90 ERA with the Royals. Hoffman, 1.53 ERA with the Blue Jays. Like, I'm not saying those guys were the answer necessarily, but there is a part of us that looks around and be like, those guys went somewhere else, they're doing well, and we got Jordan Romano.
Yeah, when you have guys in your own clubhouse and you have the ability to evaluate them up close and personal, and then they leave town and they end up being successful upon leaving, that kind of adds a little insult to injury. I guess when you look at it with Romano, I mean, my podcast co-host, Anthony Sanfilippo, actually asked Rob about this yesterday. You know, you tend to give hitters a couple months to get their footing, and how do you kind of evaluate when it's time to panic, when it's time to worry? And Rob had told him, as far as relievers go, usually it's about a month and a half. And so when you look at Romano's velocity, it is ticking up, and he threw a lot of strikes the other day, pounded the zone. There's some positives with it, but for me, the biggest problem is his slider. He just hangs and misses on too many sliders, and opponents are just doing a ton of damage against it right now. But I still think that there's some time here where you can hopefully get him to a place where he finds a little bit more consistency. I don't know that he will, but I don't think that you pull the cord on that, especially when you consider what the money is. And so he's going to get more time to figure it out. And the fact of the matter is that someone is going to get these opportunities, because they cannot go to those 3 primary arms at the back end as often as they are. And you said it. What's the psychology of it for the players on the field? Well, yesterday, I hope they didn't have that feeling, because if Bryson Stott and if Stott and Harper make routine plays on ground balls in the 7th, not only does it save another run and change the momentum of the game, but it also probably gets Jesus Luzardo into the 8th inning, because he only throws 88 pitches in 7, but he had to get 5 outs in the 7th inning. So he might be able to take down the 8th if the defense makes some plays.
Talking with Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday edition on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get to Bryson Stott in just a minute. I want to finish up with the bullpen here first. I asked this question previously, and maybe you can answer, or maybe you can't, so it's fine. I was always curious, if you have all these young pitchers in the system, right? And guys like Mcgarry, they're just not, they haven't lived up to expectation. Why wasn't there a moment maybe this year in the spring training, be like, hey, Mcgarry, we're going to just tell you to go to the bullpen and turn you into like a fire thrower?
Well, I think that the general philosophy behind that is that developing starting pitching is so much more valuable and so much harder to find than finding relievers. Like, there's a little bit of a plug and play, and I say this as they have the 29th ranked ERA out of all the relievers, but the general idea is like going into a season, if you struggle in a certain unit, if you struggle in a certain area, the bullpen tends to be an easier place to patch. And so when you have younger pitchers that are struggling, I still think that you try to exhaust all possible resources before you say, all right, we're going to now convert you to a bullpen arm. And I think that for guys like Mcgarry or a guy like Griff Mcgarry, these guys that have been in the system that you've been hearing about for a while now, who haven't taken off the way that you that they would, I think that they are sort of right on that brink of, okay, maybe we need to change the plan. But this is sort of like their last gasp coming into this season. You're right, though, in that they do, or they seemingly do anyway right now, or will have a surplus of starting pitching. So do they do what they did back in the 22 season where you're looking at, a Zach Eflin becomes a bullpen arm, Ranger Suarez becomes a bullpen arm, even Noah Syndergaard, who they acquire at the deadline, becomes a bullpen arm to a degree for them, whether it was in a piggyback situation or not. So, like, do they use that surplus and sort of pad the bullpen that way? Maybe. Or do they just go outside and they use some of the assets they have to get viable relievers in return? But right now, I don't think that there's a clear solution to this. Like, I don't see Joe Ross emerging. Romano has some upside and some pedigree, but it hasn't looked good. So can you bank on that? Probably not. Like, this is a real issue for this team. And last year they struggled in April. It got off to a poor start, and then they started to pitch much better late in games from May onward. But at that time, I said, I think that they have the depth and talent that they should be a top 10 bullpen. This year, I just don't see that.
Well, they may not be a top 10 bullpen or top 15. Maybe you're right. They do have some time to fix it. But one thing I got to give credit for, Bob. Rob Thompson putting Bryson Stott at the top of the lineup, I just think deserves a ton of credit. I was one of the people who was totally against it. I was wrong. The guy's got 5 RBI just as a leadoff hitter, 292 batting average. He has played, and on top of everything, Bob, 7 pitches per at bat he's seeing. He is doing what the Harpers and the Turners and the Schwarbers all love, which is give me more pitches to look at before I come up the bat. Bryson Stott has exceeded, I think, most of our expectations as a leadoff hitter.
Yeah, he's done a really nice job. His last 7 games, he has a 382 on base percentage, and most of that comes out of the leadoff spot. And I don't think it's a coincidence. If you look at the 2-0 loss that the Phillies had to the Cardinals, not this past weekend, but the weekend prior, they finished Friday night in that game 26th in Major League Baseball in first inning scoring. Well, as of this morning, they are now number 1 in all of baseball in first inning run production. And I think that coincides, obviously, with Bryson Stott being in the leadoff spot, doing a nice job. Trey Turner had a nice weekend here. But the biggest part about it is Bryce Harper has taken off. He had a huge homestand. He hits 3 homers. His OPS was north of 1,200. And it's no coincidence. It's because Kyle Schwarber's behind him. And he's actually got some protection. It's real. I mean, we've heard Juan Soto talk about this. I had Aaron Judge behind me this last year. It's real. When you have real protection, you're going to see more pitches to hit, and good hitters do more damage against more pitches to hit. And it's sort of all kind of come together for the top of the lineup here. And it starts with Bryson Stott. And I think at this point, Rob, I know he's done a lot of lineup jumbling here in the early on, and he's going to have to continue to do that with some guys struggling. But I think Bryson Stott, you just go ahead and say, all right, you're my leadoff guy, or at least that's how I'd play it.
Or at least go through the 1 through 5. Keep that set, because the Stott, Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, Castellanos hitting over 300 is insane. No one ever saw that coming. So it's like, hey, if that's the 5 that's working, we'll figure out the 6 through 9. And to me, Rob, for Rob Thompson, you have a winning formula here. And I wouldn't be crazy to say, you know what, maybe on Wednesday, when it's David Peterson, maybe stick with it, see what happens.
They wanted to give Brandon Marsh opportunities against left-handed pitching this season, and obviously it did not work out. And I know going back to really last year, they've really picked their spots and trying to get Amundo Sosa into games, and a lot of times that's at the expense of Bryson Stott. I think that they've got to just adopt this philosophy at this point, that this guy has shown here this season in the early going that he's up to the task. Let him get some run. Let's see if he can handle it. Let's see if he can handle difficult lefties and give him an opportunity to do that. I know it feels like that all these games are extraordinarily important, and they are this week. The Mets and Cubs, these teams are going to be in it come September. You want to win these games, but I think early on in the season, you owe it to your everyday guys to really show that they can handle or that they can't handle certain situations. So I would like to see that as well this week.
Talking with Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad at Bob_Wankel on the Twitter X platform. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday edition of the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. Speaking of the road trip, Bob, Aaron Nola tonight. It should be, for the first time this year, JT Realmuto catching him instead of Rafael Marchand. What is your take on, is it maybe as simple as getting another catcher behind the plate to help slow down the Nola coaster, or should we really be concerned about Aaron Nola getting up there in age?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, the velocity's down a little bit, but it's actually consistent with where it was at the start of last season. He's averaged 91.4 with his four-seam fastball so far. And I don't really think it's a velocity issue so much as it is. He ran into trouble. He was a little bit fat early in the season. He was getting hit around, home runs, doing damage. And then I think in these last two starts now, he's starting to walk batters because he's been trying to be so fine. And I think that he is trying to sort of navigate, hey, I can't allow opposing hitters to do so much damage. I need to be a little bit more fine, a little bit more meticulous. And now it's leading into a situation where the walks are increasing. And when opponents are hitting 300 against you, and both lefties and righties are hitting against over 300 against Aaron Nola this season, and then you combine it with the walks, it's very hard to navigate that. I think that there's enough of a track record there, and the guy knows how to pitch. And I know he's infuriating and frustrating, and you never really know what you're going to get start to start. But I think that there should be enough trust that big picture, as you zoom out, that his numbers are generally in line with where they've been the last handful of years. And certain years have been better than others. Like last year was pretty good. 23 really struggled. Does he fall somewhere in the middle of what he did in 2023 and 24? Yeah, like maybe. But I don't think that we're looking at a guy who, as of 2 days ago, I believe there are 89 qualified starting pitchers in baseball, and he was 88th in ERA. Like, are we talking about a guy that's now not a number 3 starter? He's that bad. He fell off the cliff. Like, I just don't think so. But they need him tonight, especially with where the bullpen's at. We talk about these guys being overworked. We've seen Matt Strahm the last 2 days, Alvarado the last 2 days. They need Aaron Nola to get deep into a game and give them a shot tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if Nola goes out there, goes 6 innings, only gives up 2 runs, you're pretty much should be winning that game. Now, I'm not guaranteeing it, but I know Miguel has had a good history against the Phillies as well. That is to be factored in. But if Nola can maybe go out there and give you a good start, Bob, is there a part of you that says the guys look around and be like, all right, Nola's back, let's go?
Yeah, I mean, the starting pitching has been good overall, and it's been deep. And most nights, I think that these guys show up to the park understanding that they're going to have an opportunity to win. And for the most part, these guys have given them an opportunity to win. Aaron Nola's really the one guy who has not found it yet and hasn't shown it. I would just think on dumb luck at some point that you're going to run into that start. And I would assume this is a team, and I will say this is a team that has seen him a million times. They know what they're going to get, and he's just going to have to execute his pitches. And if he can do it, he'll get deep into this game. This Mets lineup is okay. It's not an elite lineup. It hasn't really hit a ton yet. The Mets have really been powered, and their success in the early going has been powered by their pitching, which is maybe one of the biggest surprises across the entire sport. Mets pitching right now, relievers and starters, number 1 in wins above replacement, number 1 in ERA. So, we'll see what happens. Nola has to execute that tonight because, like I said, the Mets have been tough, and the Phillies need to prove that they can hit good pitching too. And that's something that we haven't really seen yet.
3 in the New York against the Mets, 3 in Chicago against the Cubs. What is a realistic expectation for this road trip?
You start to look around. I don't think that the Phillies circle this as like a revenge series or anything like that, but you start to look around the sport and you look away that the National League is shaping up here. And there's a number of pretty good teams that have gotten off to a good start and look like it's legit. And so I think it's important that the Phillies at least get through these next 6 games at 3-3. And in this series, I think it's going to be tough tonight. You have Nola going, but McGill's been good. You have a short bullpen. But then the next 2 nights, you're coming back with Sanchez and Wheeler. You got to find a way to go win at least 1 up there. And really, you should be in line to win 2 of these games with these guys going. We'll see what happens. And then you go out to Chicago, and I think you just got to find a way to at least get 1 out there. But I know if they come back anything worse than 2-4, my goodness, they come back off a 1-5 road trip. Now we're talking about a team that's 500 at the end of April, and probably a handful of games out of first place. You've let the Braves get up off the mat. The Mets are running away with the division. The tone of this conversation will be drastically different if they have this, blow up road trip here.
By the way, my favorite story of this road trip is going to be Saturday. The scheduled pitcher is Ben Brown, the guy you traded for Dave Robertson. We're stuck here. We still haven't seen Painter. We still haven't seen Mcgarry. We still haven't seen McAble. But the guy that was a throwaway for Dave Robertson, he's pitching pretty well out there in Chicago.
Yeah, he did a nice job, and he had about, I think, 15 games last year. I think he made about 10 starts, and he showed some promise. And he's been a little bit up and down here in early in 25. But when you look back at that trade, that's one you kind of go, ooh, I might want to have that one back.
I'm not saying they should have traded Mcgarry or one of those other guys, but it's just there's a party that kind of looks around and be like, if Ben Brown made it to the major league level already, there's a part of you that wonders how he would have fared maybe helping out this team.
Yeah, I think that's fair to wonder. I think it's fair to question a lot of things that have sort of played out here. You're talking about a team it's off to a decent start. This is a good team. It's not a great team. They've had their opportunities to do more damage in the postseason. They've sort of whiffed on it here, but they've done a lot of good things. If you really think about it, this team is definitely, they've won a lot of games. They've given people a lot of fun nights. But this season, a lot of the things, what's different about this is that when the fans sit at home and they go, I don't understand why you kept that guy. I don't understand why you signed that guy. And a lot of those concerns prove to be true. That really ups the frustration level. It's like, well, if I'm sitting here on my couch and I can see these things, well, what are these guys doing? And a lot of these concerns and complaints have proven to be legitimate through the first 3.5 weeks here.
He's Bob Wankel. He covers the Phillies for Crossing Broad. Give him a follow on the Twitter X platform at Bob_Wankel. Of course, the Phillies, 3 games in New York versus the Mets and 3 games in Chicago before they return home against the Nationals next week. When Bob returns later this week, he'll be talking with Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Bob, appreciate you jumping on. We'll talk soon.
All right, Josh. Talk soon.
Josh Hennig back here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN, the 3 o'clock hour, being brought to you by Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadleys is your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, and installation, as well as air conditioning maintenance for generations. Call them at 609-390-3907 or visit them online at broadleys.net. And I can tell you one thing. It was pretty warm this weekend. I almost got tempted. I didn't turn the AC on this weekend, but I got a little tempted. There was a point on Saturday and Sunday I was like, it's getting up there. Of course, maybe the atmospherics were affected by that fire that happened out in the Vineland area. I hope everyone's safe out there. Apparently, the firefighters have that fire pretty much under control now, but I'm sure that the rising heat and humidity combined with a fire that was probably about, I want to say 30 miles from my house. Probably didn't help the temperatures this weekend. All right, still to come, we have football at 4. Adam Caplan jumping on today to talk more about the Cam Jurgens extension as well as the NFL draft. Nick's Nuggets with Nick Earnshaw coming up in about an hour from now. Rye or Cy, Ryan Rothstein is back coming up at 5 o'clock on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you. Coming up on the other side, I want to know what you guys did this weekend with your sports watching. Because I had a bit of an epiphany this weekend, and I want to know if this happened to any of you. Because it was a busy, busy sports weekend. Phillies were on in the afternoon, Saturday and Sunday. You had WrestleMania Saturday and Sunday night. You had the NBA playoffs happening all weekend long. So what did you guys do? There was no Sixers, no Flyers to worry about. You're counting down to the NFL draft. Was this a weekend where some of you got outside? Was this a weekend where some of you said, you know what? I don't even care about the NBA playoffs because the Sixers aren't in it. What did your weekend look like? So I had a bit of an epiphany this weekend, and I'll share that with you guys coming up next. Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill, live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN.
The Piccalilli Inn in Shamong invites you for fun times in the Pines on the Pic Patio. Stop by for the game and order up their world-famous wings, an ice cold beer, or fun selection of fresh-made cocktails on a sunny afternoon or by the fire under a starry night. Skip the lane change. Get off the beaten path and take the trip to the family-owned Piccalilli Inn this weekend. Route 206, Shamong.
If you can't stop in, stop back. The Piccalilli Inn.
Transforming your land with a John Deere compact tractor is as easy as connect, latch, load, haul, spread. Cutting grass is as simple as roll, click, mow. Box blading is as effortless as hook, lock, grade. And backhoeing is as convenient as turn around, switch, dig. Because when you've got the versatility to tackle just about any job and dealer support in your own backyard, you just have to get in the seat. Find the right compact tractor for you at johndeere.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Greetings, Boomtown. Ever since this neighborhood switched to Xfinity Internet,
The Wi-Fi is booming!
Xfinity combines the power of internet and mobile with one all-in plan.
So we've all got lightning-fast, secure Wi-Fi speeds at home and on the go with Wi-Fi Power Boost from Xfinity Mobile.
You get the most reliable Wi-Fi with our best in-class equipment and unlimited data included. Plus, add an unlimited mobile line.
All for only $40 a month for 1 year. To celebrate this combo, we're mashing our shows together.
It's everything you need all in one plan. Plus, learn how to get a free 5G phone with a premium unlimited line. Now, sit back and relax with the smooth, relaxing sound
of face-melting acid metal!
Brilliant.
Visit Xfinity.com to learn more. Ends June 23rd with paperless billing and autopay stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet gateway required. Taxes, fees extra. After 1 year rate increases to $110 a month. After 2 years regular rates apply. Actual Wi-Fi speeds vary. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report August 2024.
Since 1949, local homeowners and businesses have trusted Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Jenkins understands these are challenging times, which is why they're offering financing on all plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and maintenance services. Take advantage of utility loans up to $25,000 at 0% for 7 years and rebates up to $2,950. If you're a new or existing customer in need of service, call Jenkins today. Some qualifications apply. Call 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandsons.com.
It happens more than you think. A customer wants, no needs the goods and services your business offers. No matter how hard they try, they can't find you, but they find your competitor right there at the top of the results page.
And even if they do find your website, when they click, it's like a ghost town.
Hello?
Outdated, not compelling, and perhaps worse, it has information that's not accurate.
Y2K? But how do you fix that? At Town Square Interactive, we have the tools to help you maximize your online presence. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com and start by getting a free local customer analysis.
This online tool will show you just how many customers in your area you could be reaching. To get in front of those customers, we will build a premium website for your business.
One that shows up well in web searches and converts website clicks into phone calls, appointments, and foot traffic.
It's simple, it's fast, and it's affordable. Go to mylocalcustomers.com and get started by getting your free local customer analysis today.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
On 97.3 ESPN.
It's not clobbering time, but I did promise you Mike Gill would make an appearance on today's Sports Bash when you least expected it. So now joining us as Josh Hennig sits in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios, calling in live from parts unknown on secret assignment, is the host of the Sports Bash, Mike Gill, here on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, welcome into your show. How are you, my friend?
Like Paul Heyman low blowing you, taking while you're handling the show for me, and I came on and sneak attack you from an unknown location.
So I asked the question before we hit the break. I got to ask you, because this is a conversation you and I would typically have before a show even starts. How did you even handle this weekend? Because the Phillies with 2 afternoon games, WrestleMania's a 2-night event, and oh, by the way, the NBA playoffs were on this weekend.
Yeah, so Saturday was kind of crazy because the afternoon game, I was up in Philly. I had to drive up to Philly. My girlfriend's son rose for LaSalle, so we went to go watch him on the Schuylkill. So I had my telephone with me with YouTube TV. Kind of, if you ever been to a crew event or a rowing event, there's a lot of downtime while you're kind of waiting for these events to kind of take place. So I had my phone watching the Phillies game in the car ride up. I mean, literally, when you drive up, it's an hour drive or maybe longer sometimes to get there. The race is maybe 7 minutes, and then you drive home. So I watched most of that on my phone, and then when I got home, I did not watch any WrestleMania. I do not have Peacock. So I was, I'm not listen, I enjoy the genre. I don't know what's going on. I do know some things. CM Punk is a friend of mine, so I know he was in the main event, and I saw what happened, but I did not pay attention to the WrestleMania. The basketball I was in and out on. I just can't get into the basketball without the Sixers giving us anything this year. So because the Sixers were so bad this year, I just never really got grabbed by basketball this year. So a lot of Phillies this weekend. Yesterday, Easter, had the Phillies game on. Everybody at my house watching the game. So a lot of Phillies, I would say.
I'm so glad you said what you said about the basketball, because you had made that comment before, Mike, about how the Sixers not being the postseason loses some of the juice. And I really thought, maybe I'll still be into it. You're 100% right, because I had the most passive interest in the postseason this weekend. I never thought I'd be that disinterested. I was all in the WrestleMania Saturday and Sunday nights. I might have watched a total of maybe like an hour and a half of NBA basketball this weekend at best.
Yeah, I mean, and it would be different if the Sixers were, they gave you no reason to get into the season this year. Like, the season ended right after Christmas. They had the one win on Christmas Day against Boston. They gave you a little bit of like a window opening of, okay, if they all play together, this is what they can be. And then they slammed your fingers on the window right after Christmas Day. And by the trade deadline in early February, when the Eagles were in the Super Bowl, the Sixer season was over. So you just never got immersed into the season at all. I turned into Oklahoma City at one point, and they were up by 50. And I said, okay, I'm checking back out of this thing. So not a lot of juice there. Definitely not for the basketball. And, I know the Heat are the first number 10 seed that ever has gotten out of the play-in game. So that Heat team always gives people a little bit of something to kind of keep an eye at. The Celtics just blasted the Magic yesterday. So I'm kind of watching from afar, but this Philly season, I'm in. I'm definitely going to be going for the ride here. The day in and day out. They play the Mets tonight, and you got Aaron Nola, who's been really struggling against Tyler McGill, who's been really good in the early stages here. So, this is a fun Philly-New York battle for the first time this year.
I'm glad you went to the Phillies. That was my next question, Mike, because it was a roller coaster ride this weekend. Are you getting any deja vu vibes from 2021's bullpen? Because right now, the current Phillies bullpen is second worst ERA in baseball. They had the most blown saves this year. Are you getting any 2021 deja vu?
Well, I'm getting a lot of. Well, by the way, I got a helicopter landing above me right now, so that's the noise you hear. I'm actually at a hospital currently, out in the in a little courtyard at a hospital right now. But yeah, I mean, 2021 vibes, 2020 vibes, 2019 vibes, more like the 2022 vibes, I would say. The 2020, 2019, those teams were really bad bullpens. They would blow like 40 saves a season. In other words, those teams, if they just didn't blow half the saves, they would have been playoff teams. This team gives me more 2022 vibes, where you had Alvarado, you had Dominguez, and you remember that playoff run, they had Zach Eflin that they kind of used in the bullpen. Every now and then they would throw Suarez back there. This team feels more like that, where they have two or three guys that they kind of trust, but they're using them too much right now. I've been watching, and this is a whole topic I meant to talk about today before I wasn't able to come in, but have you watched the Clubhouse on Netflix, the Boston Red Sox thing from last year?
I haven't gotten to it yet. It's on my queue list.
It just came out, and it followed them all last year. There's so many things in that show that are relatable to the Phillies and just baseball in general about how things go on. One of the things is he's sitting down, they're talking about the trade deadline, how they need a right-handed arm, and he's saying it's not because our guys aren't good. It's because we're overusing them. They're spent. So they have Alvarado. They've got Strom. They've got Romano, who I can't trust at this point right now. So those three guys are their kind of go-to guys, and there's somebody else, Kirkering, who gave up the home run the other day, so everybody's down on him. But he's one of the guys they trust. They have those four guys. But what their problem is, they only have those four guys. So he's already in April. He's going to them every single night because they're the only guys he trusts in high-leverage situations. Now, I don't know if you talked about it because I know people were complaining. Luzardo, 88 pitches. They pulled him from the game after the seventh. You're asking for 2 innings out of 4 guys that you trust. against the Marlins, for God's sake. So I get it. Am I a fan of taking him out after 88 pitches? No, because I'm an old-school pitcher. Pitch your game, throw 110 pitches. 110, I'm being kind. I mean, these guys can't go 120, 130. It's a sad state of affairs, but it's a sad state of affairs right now. So 88 pitches, they pull him from the game. If you don't think between Kerkering, Strom, Alvarado that you can't get out of that game against the Marlins, you got real big problems. So I didn't have a huge problem with him pulling Luzardo, who, by the way, didn't have his best stuff. He wasn't his best the other day. He looked like he was kind of tiring a little bit. So I wasn't thinking, like, why are you taking this guy out? At that point in the game, when this team gets to the eighth, you should feel pretty good with the four guys they have. It's the other guys that are the problem that they need to figure out what they're going to do right now with.
On the phone with us right now, Mike Gill, the Sports Bash here. Josh Hennig in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios. Mike Gill in an unknown courtyard with helicopters flying overhead here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, we got to get to the Romano thing because you had talked about how you liked the idea originally of bringing in Romano. And right now, we got Jeff Hoffman with a 1.53 ERA in Toronto, Estevez with an 0.90 ERA in Kansas City, and we got Romano allowing 6 runs on Saturday afternoon, Mike. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I need more beer at this brewery because I got to drown my misery in watching Romano implode.
Yeah, Romano, by the way, so last year, Hoffman and Estevez were really good in the regular season, and then they imploded in the playoffs. Maybe Romano will be bad in the regular season and then excel in the playoffs. I don't know. We can all dream, right? Look, Romano, that one was kind of bizarre because when he had been struggling, it was because his command was bad and his velocity was down. He was 91, 92. He was all over the place. He threw 96, 99 the other day, and he got blasted. I don't know if it's one of those situations where, hey, he's used to being a closer. You bring him in with a 6-run lead. How many times do we see the closer kind of implode in those situations? Romano's another guy where I'm going to go to the Boston Red Sox clubhouse Netflix thing. And I don't know this about Romano. I mean, he just got here. He has been with Toronto his whole career. And that's one of the storylines in that show is the trade deadline and guys getting traded or guys. This is an interesting one that I think we never think about, right? In the show, Brian Balo is the number one pitcher for them, and they had given him a 5-year, $55 million contract extension, right? He's their ace. And last year he's struggling, and they're like, "What's wrong with him? His velocity's fine. His stuff looks better." And this is where, and if you watch this show, I think it really shows Alex Cora, the manager, what the managers really do. And it is him sitting down and talking to these guys. And somebody said, "Have you talked to him?" And he's like, "I haven't." They're like, "I think you should talk to him." And it's just him and Balo out in the outfield, sitting in the green on the wall out in right field at Fenway Park. And here's Brian Balo telling him, like, my wife can't get her visa. My kid can't get her visa. I've been here since February, and I can't get my wife and kid here. Well, this is being recorded in, like, July or August, and he still can't get his wife and kid to the States. So he can't see his wife. He can't see his kid. And I know we don't really care about that stuff. You're getting paid big money. But the human element of some of these guys, that's on his mind when he goes to the mound every single day. And you might say, "I don't care. You're making $55 million. That's fair. But that happens. He's a human being. He says, "Look, I want to see my wife. I want to see my kid." And I'm not suggesting that for Romano because I don't know what his situation is, but he has been with one team his whole career. And we hear this a lot where these guys they sign with new teams. They got to change schools. They got to find a new place to go. They got to find all the different stuff that kind of clouds some of these guys early on in their tenures. And Romano, that's the confounding part because his stuff looked good the other day. He was throwing with velocity, and he still couldn't get the out. So you wonder if there's other things distracting him as this season, is just kind of getting off the ground for him.
that story reminds me what happened to Jose Alvarado. Remember back in 2023 where his mom and his wife and his kids couldn't get into the country from Venezuela, and it became a whole fiasco. And there was a part of you were asking, Mike, here on the Sports Bash, guys like Bob Wankel, how much is that potentially impacting a guy like Alvarado? And I think with the story you just told about the Red Sox is a perfect example where, like, these guys, there are real-world stuff that factor into this.
Well, that, and I mean, you've got in the show, man, Durant is the center fielder for them, and his whole story, I mean, I'm sure it's been publicized by now. People have probably even heard about it. In the Netflix show, he's talking about how the fans' criticism of him basically caused him to try to commit suicide. I mean, he's literally telling you on Netflix, and he's literally like, have you talked to your parents about this? He's like, no, I really haven't. This is the first time I've talked about this. So here's this guy. He's now an all-star, and he says, I'm sitting in my apartment. Now think about this. He's a young kid, 22, 23, 24 years old. He has no wife or girlfriend. His family's not there. He lives in a one-bedroom apartment, basically. And he's like, I'm sitting in the apartment, and I had my gun, and I put the bullet in, and I pulled the trigger. And he's like, for whatever reason, I'm still here. And at that point, I said, like, let's do, and if you watch the thing, he writes on his wrist, I can't use the word that he says. It's a four-letter word. It starts with an F. He writes that on his left wrist, and on his other wrist, he has another message that he writes, and he ends up making the All-Star game. But, the criticism that he got because he could not live up to what the fans wanted him to be, and he just couldn't take it. And he's talked a lot about this since.
Sure.
He made the All-Star game last year. He was the MVP of the All-Star game last year. How many people remember that Durant was the MVP of the All-Star game last year? But this is all on the heels of the fans just being too much for him to take, and him basically he tried to take his own life and couldn't do it. Not that he couldn't do it, for whatever reason, he said the gun failed him. And at that point, he kind of changed, and it's a crazy story. But you never know what's going on with some of these people. And us, the fans are, people talking about the beat writers don't ask tough enough questions. Listen, in 1997, when the team stunk and the beat writers asked tough questions, did that solve anything? No. This team and this era of Phillies baseball has been the best era of Phillies baseball for most people, other than winning the World Series in 80 and in 08, and then the two seasons after, 9, 10, and 11, 3 seasons after the 08 World Series. Right now, 22, 23, 24, this is one of the best stretches that they've had. So, we have to appreciate sometimes that these guys are human and that they have things going on in their lives outside of, Tuesday night I struck out 3 times. There's a part where somebody texted in last week. The Phillies had an inning. They had runners on base, and the 2, 3, 4 guys all came up and they struck out. And the fans this is where someone said, this is where Thompson is too laid back and he needs to yell at these guys. And this is where Alex Cora in the show, somebody made a mistake. It was Tristan Casas made a mistake. He got thrown out at third base, had a bad read on the ball. And somebody asked, are you going to say something? Are you going to yell at him? Are you going to say something? He goes, he knows he made a mistake. Me yelling at him only makes it worse. And this is Alex Cora is widely regarded by many as one of the best managers in the game. He's won 3 World Series championships. And his whole thing was, look, we're not here for X's and O's. We're not here for all that stuff. We're here to talk to these guys, keep the clubhouse together, make sure that everybody is being talked to. And I thought it was a pretty eye-opening thing. And by the way, there's a moment in there where they're talking about lineup stuff and they're talking about different pitching, and it's Cora, the general manager, and some scouts, and they're all talking about where they should hit guys and certain things like that. So you get that insight of them sitting down before a game because they make a trade in the show. They make a trade for a catcher, and it's a right-handed catcher, and he's talking about how he's going to where they're going to hit him, when they're going to use him, and what he's going to have to tell the other catcher whose time he's going to end up taking.
Speaking of Lions, before I let you go, Mike, if I can make the awkward transition to something more positive than what we've been talking about. By the way, the lineup just came out, and the reason lines up perfectly, Bryson Stott is still the leadoff hitter. The lineup is pretty much the same. Mike Gill, since Bryson Stott became the leadoff hitter in 8 games, he has a .294 batting average, .342 on base percentage. He has 5 RBI. And even more importantly, he is averaging just over 7 pitches seen per at-bat. So people like me were wrong, Mike. I was against Stott being the leadoff hitter, and this guy has gone out there and exceeded, I think, most people's expectations.
Hey, listen, I was not a big fan of him hitting in the leadoff spot either. So far, the 7 pitches per at-bat, that's the number that stands out the most to me. The on-base percentage has been very good. The batting average, very good. But the 7 pitches per at-bat, that's the number that stands out. And I know there was contingents of people that wanted to see Stott maybe even benched in favor of Edmundo Sosa. Hey, Sosa's a better player than Stott? I don't think so. I have no problem with them platooning if that's something you want to bring up to me, but don't tell me that Sosa should be playing over Stott every single day. And you're seeing why. This is the Stott that they got in 2023 when he really gave them a jolt of life. And he was hitting in the 5-hole for that playoff run. So he was in a little bit more of an RBI situation, but him at the top of the order here has surprised me. But your point there about the amount of pitches that he is seeing has really been a big thing. And look, he's hitting the ball all over the field. He's spraying it down the left field line, going opposite that way, going, bringing up a lot of doubles. And they've been very aggressive on the base pass, stealing a lot of base. Saturday, they steal like 5 or 6 bases in the game. They were running all over the place on the Marlins, and that's because you got Rojas, who's been getting on base. That was an interesting moment in the game last night. Rojas, who's been kind of hot. By the way, I'm not suggesting that Rojas is Tony Gwynn, but his on-base percentage is up over 400 right now. 400 for Rojas. I might have let him hit instead of Cal Stevenson in that spot. My buddy texted me, why Stevenson here? And I'm like, I'm agreeing with you. I would probably let Rojas hit. I think it's simply because it's a right-handed pitcher, again, and they're putting Stevenson a left-handed bat. And by the way, Stevenson, if you remember that Mets series last year, had some big hits in that series that won that game on that Saturday afternoon against the Mets in August. So he's had some big hits in his career, but Rojas, when he gets on base with his speed, and then you got Stott getting on base with his speed, if you looked at the game on Saturday when they won 11-10, look at the guys who had RBIs in that game, and it was Harper and Schwarber and Castellanos and Turner. I mean, it's all the guys that you want because the other guys were getting on base and the big guys were driving them home. Saturday is kind of the blueprint of what you want from this lineup.
Really quick before I let you go, Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on the phone from an unknown courtyard with helicopters flying overhead. JT Realmuto is catching. Is that going to help Aaron Nola?
Well, that's interesting. Did you see yesterday? I mean, that was a big storyline early in the game was Marchand had the 1.83 pop time, which is the fastest in the majors. So his pop time throw down to second base is actually better than Realmuto's,
right?
Who erases guys left and right. We'll see. I mean, I know Nola's been kind of stuck with Marchand the last couple of times out there, but I think it was purely coincidental that kind of ended up happening. So now he's going to go back. And if there is a change from Nola, which I would assume there is, and I think that would be coincidental as well. I think Nola 0-4 with an ERA in the 6s. You would anticipate that he has a bounce back here. But having the catcher switch, you'll start to speculate, well, that's the reason why. I don't know. Although I will say, listen, I don't know how often he's thrown. He's thrown a lot with Realmuto. Pitchers are definitely creatures of habit and definitely have a preference of who their catcher is. So if this is a change, you would probably, and he pitches well, you would probably see Realmuto paired up with him in the future.
He's Mike Gill, host of the Sports Bash, Monday through Friday here on 97.3 ESPN, checking in here on a Monday afternoon. Mike, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and, of course, you'll be back on the road with the people, of course, the Eagles draft party on Thursday, Boardwalk Honda on Friday, so you got a busy week ahead of you.
We do, and I appreciate you on a late pinch hit here. I'm out at a hospital right now. I'm okay. I'm just here supporting somebody, and hopefully everything seems to be going okay, and we can get back rocking and rolling tomorrow and the rest of the week. Looking forward to the draft, seeing some people. And on Friday, we're going to be at Boardwalk Honda with the Super Bowl trophy. So, just it was a late kind of audible on my plans today, but thankfully you were there to jump in as usual.
Mike, take care of yourself. I'll talk to you later.
All right, see ya.
Josh and Hennig live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget the 3 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash being brought to you by Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadleys is your trusted source for heating and plumbing services and installation for generations. Call them at 609-390-3907. Online at broadleys.net. Yeah, I gotta catch up on that Netflix show. It's one of those things where it's like, how you fitting in everything? That was kind of the point of my weekend. Mike Gill basically told you. He was like, I don't really have Peacock. I was going to go get the WrestleMania. I was going to watch the highlights later. He was watching Netflix all weekend instead of watching the NBA playoffs. So Mike Gill, it was Phillies, Netflix, WrestleMania highlights, 5 minutes of the NBA playoffs. We'll get back to the football coming up next. What does the Cam Jurgens contract extension mean? We'll ask NFL insider Adam Caplan from the Insider Birds podcast next on 97.3 ESPN.
The ACUA's 33rd Annual Earth Day Festival is Sunday, April 27th at their environmental park in Egg Harbor Township. Here with more about this free and fun event is Matt D'Onofrio, president of the ACUA. What's it all about, Matt?
Yeah, so it's a great event we hold every year. We open our doors to the community, and there's really something there for everybody, for kids and adults, to learn about not just the environment, but what we do for the community, from our solid waste complex and even tours over to the wastewater treatment facility to see our windmills.
And there's lots of activities and vendors and so much to do.
Yeah, so we have Touch a Truck, bouncies and crafts, we have music events, food trucks, as well as experience all the vendors that we have.
Again, it's the ACUA's 33rd Annual Earth Day Festival, Sunday, April 27th. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Are you ready to transform your health? I'm Dr. Samar Burche, owner and medical director of NutriaMed Metabolic Center in EHD. We offer a variety of fitness programs, but what sets us apart? Our programs are medically supervised. Take the first step towards a healthier, happier you.
Matt Black Kia has 3 questions. Do you have a job? Want to pay 0 interest? Want to save before high tariff prices? 0 down, 0 payments for 90 days, 0 interest for 72 months. On every clearly marked new Kia in stock.
It's gotta be a Matt Black Kia.
With approved credit, not all will qualify. On new 2024 Kia purchase. Go to mattblackkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. Expires 5/4/25. Matt Black Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Sweetie, come here. Don't worry. I see a lot of patients with the exact same thing.
Ever since the ice skating rink went in next door?
Or is it more than
Dr. Clark's business is heating up.
So many patients need my help. How will I find time to see all of them?
They need to hire a scheduler, stat.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card, good for use at Provenza Restaurant and Event Center on Wellington Avenue in Ventnor for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
Seizethedeal.com.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Sebastian Maniscalco.
Now, is this a family? Is this your mother? Where is she? Is she in the crowd? The mom's up there. What kind of family is this? I'm sorry.
It Ain't Right Tour 2025.
The poor mother is in the balcony, and the kids are down here with the father and his gumad. If this was the 80s, the kids would have been up there and the parents would have been down here.
The biggest comedian in the history of Atlantic City. Live at Ovation Hall and Ocean Casino Resort, September 18th to 28th. Get tickets now at theoceanac.com.
Well, good morning, kiddo. I love that you're home from college. I've missed you.
Still taking your Nature-Made vitamins?
Every day. A multivitamin and a probiotic. You better be taking yours.
Still looking out for me, Mom.
I'll never stop.
Made to care for you every day. Nature-Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand. Find us in the vitamin aisle, based on a survey of pharmacists who recommend branded vitamins and supplements.
With GMF financing, qualified buyers excludes Traverse and Corvette excludes prior sales.
Why is Bennett Chevrolet the area's most popular dealer? It's simple. Bennett sells new Chevys at the true GM supplier employee prices, not a penny more. Plus, Bennett gives you all the rebates, saving you up to 20% on your new vehicle. And there's more. Bennett's got available 0% financing, saving you even more money. And there's never any hassles, no haggles, just the best prices you can find. Plus, if you're looking for pre-owned, Bennett's giving you a minimum $10,000 for any trade you can bring. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for any vehicle you can get here. And you guessed it, there's no hassles, no haggles, just a minimum 10 grand for any trade. Savings up to 20% on new vehicles. A minimum $10,000 for any trade towards any pre-owned in stock. And there's never any hassles, no haggles, and no negotiating needed with our non-commissioned sales team. They're paid on your satisfaction. Together, let's drive. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing, must-visit shops. And how healthcare offices become the data managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business. Powering possibilities.
Now through May 4th, new customers can get started with 150 megabit internet for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get up to a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying gig bundle. Call today. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Requires enrollment in paperless billing and automatic payments with bank account. Early termination fee applies. Equipment, taxes, and other fees extra and subject to change.
When you buy a new house, you might say,
"Shut the front door."
Winning!
No, seriously, shut the front door. We own this house now.
But you actually need to say,
"Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there."
That's right. The local State Farm agent is there to help you choose the coverage you need.
Welcome to my crib. No one says that anymore, but I don't care.
So just remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
State Farm, Bloomington, Illinois.
Breaking news coming in from
Home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. 97.3 ESPN presents the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.
Just hungry to bring back another Lombardi to Philly. It's the fans deserve it. Our team deserves it. Culture begs for it.
Now live, this is Football at 4.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday edition on 97.3 ESPN. Pinch hitting for Jeff Mosher today. It's Adam Caplan here on a Monday edition of Football at 4. Of course, Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, Inside the Birds on YouTube, Inside the Birds on Patreon, and wherever you get your podcast. It's draft week, and Adam Caplan will join with the latest information as well as some thoughts on Cam Jurgens. 4-year contract extension. He is now signed through 2029. And Adam, that means 4 of the Eagles' 5 offensive linemen are all signed through at least 2027.
Hey, Josh, this gives them certainty about what their offensive line will look like. Not that they didn't know Jurgens was going to be here for a while. They made a decision at the end of last season he was going to be extended. There was no hard deadline. Plus, he had back surgery. But as someone who is in contact with him a lot lately told us, he was expecting to get it done relatively soon. They got it done now. I give the Eagles credit. Look, they could have waited until training camp, around there before training camp started, just to make sure his rehab was going well. Well, guess what? Rehab's going pretty well. They did not need to wait like 4 more months, so they felt pretty good about it. They get it done now. Now he becomes by average per season, Josh. He becomes the second highest paid center in the National Football League. We have not gotten the full breakdown. We'll get that over the weekend in terms of what the guarantee looks like. But the bottom line is that this goes back several decades on how Joe Banner, the former Eagles president, did things. You know, as soon as they were allowed to extend a player who they liked, they would do it. And then the Joe Banner rule came in where, because you might remember, Josh, the Eagles would have to wait by the old rule a couple CBAs ago. They'd have to wait until after 2 seasons. Now you have to wait till 3. And that's what the Eagles did here. They waited till after his 3rd year. He has now 1 year plus 4 left. And you're right, Josh. They're going to have these guys sign up for a number of years, and it's pretty remarkable to me. They just continue to get this thing done, man. It's super cool, and this is what they do. I mean, I'm very impressed with the way how he's done this, and he also is on the way of listen. They clearly have gotten him right so far. One thing I do want to say with Cam Jurgens is he did have a bad injury history at Nebraska. That he had foot problems. We reported at the time that he was drafted. You know, he's had some injuries here, but he plays through it. I remember talking to Jack Stoll, a former Eagles tight end, who's now with New Orleans. Jack said he's really smart. You know, he was his roommate in college for a bit. And Jurgens has been a really good football player, and this is just yet another offensive lineman, Josh, that the Eagles have gotten right.
And to that point, because you mentioned at the beginning there, you know, he had the back surgery this offseason to deal with the pinched nerve. And, you know, a lot of people online are, you know, reacting, oh, what about the back surgery? And, Adam, sure. I think it's safe to assume that the Eagles are not making a contract decision. This is like the 76ers just throwing out money at people. The Eagles are going to cross all their T's and dot their I's before they give Jurgens this money.
Exactly. So that's the thing, Josh. And the thing is, he's their player. They know how he's been rehabbing. They know he had the surgery, you know, out west, but they knew what they were dealing with. It's no different than any player that has had surgery. They kind of know, you know, Landon Dickerson with the knee. They know what's expected. They know when he's going to be back. Now, I would tell you that one thing that offensive line coaches have told me over the years, they're always concerned when a offensive lineman has back surgery. You know, something you have to keep an eye on. You know, Jordan Mailata, by the way, had significant back problems early in his career, which he's gotten over. So, yeah, you have to take a look at it. But the Eagles, again, they've done very well with rehabbing their players, and it's been a pretty good marriage. And by the way, Jason Kelsey, as you know, was involved. Josh, it was Howie Roseman's call, but Jason was involved in the tape study and the recommendation to draft Jurgens, because Howie does this with a lot of former players he respects. Brent Selleck, Darren Sproles, and others. He asked them to get involved, and Kelsey did, and by the way, he was right.
Absolutely. And Adam, before we move on from this, can you explain to the audience, because for those who don't know, Adam is more than just Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, but you've been an NFL insider for years. Explain to the audience about what other NFL teams are noticing about what the Eagles are doing with these contract extensions.
Yeah, this is interesting. So this comes up every now and then when Jeff and I ask more often than front offices about this. Not so many coaches. Coaches don't really understand contracts, and they really admire the way the Eagles do business because, you know, Howie learned from Joe Banner, and you know how he's been so bullish. Once they identify a guy that it's working, they extend early. There are not a lot of teams that do this. It's very strange, Josh. I don't know what the big risk is. If you're right on it's very rare when the Eagles are wrong on extending a player early. Look, the Carson Wentz thing, Josh. I couldn't blame them for doing it. Yes, he had an injury history. Now their relationship with Carson obviously went south. They didn't know that would happen. I mean, you could say they got that one wrong. That's fine, because in the end they had to trade him because he wanted out and they felt compelled to trade him. But more often than not, Josh, they have a very high percentage of being right, and it's come up in conversations that I've had with front office people. They really do admire the way the Eagles do business, and I think Howie's relationships with other teams have been much better in recent years. He's not always trying to get over on teams where he try to always win the trade. You know, I'm sure you're aware of that. Howie's talked about that in interviews. He's done a much better job. So, in the end, Josh, the Eagles do really good business. They make very smart bets. They're rarely wrong. Quite frankly, it's when they've done restructures, they've had a couple bad ones over the years. But overall, they extend the players at the right time, and they do it early. And this is what Joe Banner did. The only player, though, by the way, before we move on, the one guy who turned them down, you're old enough to remember Michael Lewis, who was a safety, who wound up signing with the Niners. That was a stunner, I think in 2006, maybe 2005, where he just decided, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself. And he wound up getting a pretty good contract with the Niners, good free agent contract. But it's very rare, other than Milton Williams. By the way, the Eagles tried to re-sign him. They really tried hard in the regular season, and I got to give Milton credit. He did a smart thing by not re-signing. He got a major deal with the Patriots.
Talking with Adam Caplan from Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, at Caplan NFL on the Twitter X platform. Of course, the latest edition is the mock draft with Adam, Andrew DeCecco, and Jeff Mosher that dropped this morning. But speaking of the draft, Adam, the Eagles and their athletic testing RAS scores. First of all, explain to the audience what is an RAS score and how much does that involve in the Eagles' decision-making?
It is big, but it's all right. So basically, Josh, it's called relative athletic score. It basically takes measurables, height, weight, relative speed. 40-yard dash, 10-yard split, 20-yard split, broad jump, vertical. They take a lot of measurables and it's put into a score. And we've known about this, but we had not done a study because we noticed the trend, and Jeff and I looked it up, and we asked around the league. And the Eagles aren't the only team that does this. A lot of teams do it, but the Eagles, because of analytics, they take this majorly into account. And Quinyon Mitchell, high RAS scores. So just so you know, anything in the nines is considered high. 9.5 or higher is exceptional. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, exceptional. Jalen Hunt, exceptional. Will Shipley, very good. Jalen Carter, exceptional. We could go. Keely Ringo, pretty good for his size at that position. Jordan Davis, exceptional for his size. Juergens, really good. In fact, there are only a few that were not good. Like Kenny Gainwell's was really low. That's why he dropped to the 5th round. Now, the coaches really pushed Howie to draft him. And that, by the way, they got that one right in terms of drafting. Devontae Smith was pretty good. So bottom line is these athletic scores mean a lot to them. Because what will happen is, Josh, and I think Rick Spielman told us something. Rick Spielman, the former Vikings GM, when they signed Adam Thielen as an undrafted free agent, he was really not a guy that they identified despite playing at Mankato State in Minneapolis. What happened was they were looking for guys who had great athletic testing, certain data points. Thielen, though he's not really recognized as fast, he had good short area quickness. Their analytics department found him, and without that, they probably would have never signed him. So analytical data, and you got to give Eagles credit. Alec Halaby, who's their assistant general manager, since 21, one of the reasons why Howie Roseman is drafted so much better than he did before that is they're hitting a lot on these athletic benchmarks. Now, do they miss some players? Sure. I'll give you one. Last year, Dylan McMahon, who was their last pick, he was 6th-round pick, 190 overall. He was in the 9.8, 9.9 grade, but as Andrew DeCecco and I could tell you, he was so small. I remember seeing him at training camp, Josh. I thought he was a fullback. I didn't know he was. I was shocked that he was actually a guard center, and he didn't work out. He was overdrafted. Not overdrafted. He shouldn't have been drafted. He's too small. But I got to give Howie credit. It's not just tape is always number one, to be clear, but athletic testing is taken largely into account. That's another deciding factor for the Eagles.
Now, it's a deciding factor, but as we know, the Eagles have a lot of factors in. So are there circumstances, whether it would be in past drafts or maybe in this year's draft, where maybe not a literal player, but like a situation where maybe they would say, I understand the RAS score is whatever it is, but there's another factor that we are going to evaluate in this particular position or player?
Correct. So I think when Howie, Josh, got things wrong, let's go back to Andre Dillard, because it's been a week ago. Jalen Reagor's actually scores were very good, but let's get to Andre Dillard, right? Not a great athlete, not bad at all. He had short arms, way short arms than you want for the draft. He was under 34. They're just not good enough. and the tape was inconsistent, but there was some there was some decent athleticism from tape, but he wasn't powerful enough, and it showed. So there are exceptions. I mentioned Kenny Gainwell. That was strictly because the coaches got involved. Sirianni loved him. We reported this at the time, and Howie liked that he can catch the ball really well. Again, not really great athletically at all. The athletic testing was not very good. You could say they overlooked it. No question about that. It just look. They've done some things sometimes where you scratch your head. Kevon Wallace is not a great athlete. You might remember Kevon Wallace, who it really never worked out. So yeah, there are exceptions. And by the way, I'll give you this is before Howie was the general manager. Brent Selleck, former Eagles tight end, won a Super Bowl with him. He did not run a good 40. His athletic testing was not very good, but they loved his tape. And that's what you got to do. You can't just be married to athletic numbers. Tape has always been number one for every NFL team. And yes, you take some other stuff into account. You got to be careful because remember, I'll give you one more before we get out of here. There was a first-round pick, Jerry Tillery. Okay, the Eagles liked him. So he's still in the league. He's still with the team. He went to Notre Dame. His athletic testing numbers were fantastic. Tape inconsistent, motor inconsistent, hard to coach sometimes, and he's been a journeyman. So, again, this is why tape and background information is so important. And, we talk about this. You talk about the mock draft. Andrew and I and Jeff did today. Part of why we drafted certain in this mock, why we selected certain players is because of the background. A lot of things play into it with NFL teams. That's the way we try to make that mock draft today.
And I also encourage folks, go to Inside the Birds, whether you get your podcasting platform or on YouTube, because for those who don't fully understand, when you have that series with Sam Finkel, he does a great job at kind of giving the audience who maybe is not as well versed as guys like you and Jeff are about the analytics. He gives a better insight about how NFL teams use those analytic numbers.
Oh, yeah, we just dropped one. Yeah, Sam Finkel's phenomenal. People love this stuff. He takes a lot of things into account, all the data. And you will find players, teams will find players late in the draft that maybe their tape wasn't great, but their athletic testing is great. So check those out, yes, on all our podcasting platforms, on YouTube, and obviously in podcasting platforms, yeah. And then, by the way, our last intel with Greg Cosell drops tomorrow. Tackles and guards tomorrow, only on Inside the Birds.
Absolutely love it. Adam, great stuff today. Catch you next time.
Thank you.
Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, at Caplan NFL on the Twitter X platform. Like, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, football for each and every day here on the Sports Bash being brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Before we check back in on the text board at 609-403-0973, your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. I just want to hit on a couple of the points we made with Adam there, just kind of follow up on. I think it's very interesting that, when Adam talked about the Eagles basically know who their starting offensive line is moving forward. And I'm not trying to be dismissive of the right guard situation because there is a legitimate, open-endedness to there's an assumption that Tyler Steen is going to get the job. It might be Kenyon Green. It might be someone else. But it almost doesn't matter because the Eagles have hit on the other four spots. In the NFL, you can get away with one of the positions on your line being just above average if the other four guys are Pro Bowl to all-pro level players. Last year, Cam Jurgens was a Pro Bowl selection, okay? Lane Johnson is still playing at an all-pro level. Jordan Mailata, he is playing at a Pro Bowl level. Dickerson is somewhere between a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro at this point, and he's only ascending. And considering Mailata, Dickerson, and Cam Jurgens, they are all guys in their mid to upper 20s. These guys are not done evolving. They're not done growing. They're not done getting better. So when you think about it, what does that mean? That means that this offensive line over the next few years is going to continue to play at a high level. So whether it's Tyler Steen, Kenyon Green, or whoever Jeff Stoutland grooms for the job, it almost doesn't matter because you've already hit on the other four positions. And that's why it's so important what Adam brought up. It's the understanding that when you're protecting the quarterback, when you're running the offense the Eagles want to run, when you're handing the ball off to Saquon Barkley, you don't have a bunch of guys who are incapable of doing the job. You look at teams like the Giants. They can learn from the Eagles. You got to invest in the O-line. The fact that there are not more teams that don't take the Eagles' philosophy, it absolutely is astonishing to me. It's perplexing to me that other teams that are not named the Detroit Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs don't value the, and you could even argue the Chiefs have failed this at times, because one of Andy's weaknesses in Philadelphia is that there was always an attitude with Andy in Philadelphia and now in Kansas City that offensive linemen can be plug and play. And you've seen in the Chiefs' last two losses in the Super Bowl, one this year versus the Eagles, a few years ago against the Bucs, that philosophy is incorrect. You can't just throw a guy in there and boom, it works. It's not that simple. And so even a guy like Andy Reid, who knows the Eagles' philosophy, knows that concept, knows that way of thinking, even he doesn't get it right. It's the understanding that if you can get as many of these O-linemen, you can be in any game, win any game. And that's why, for example, Philadelphia can look at a Dallas Goedert and say, we're going to probably trade him. Who are you replacing him with? We'll figure it out. It doesn't really matter. And then the fans will be like, of course it matters. Not really. Who's your third receiver? I guess we could trade for Jahan Dotson. You guess you can? Because of the offensive line. The offensive line is the ultimate nullifier. It is the ultimate weapon in the Eagles' tools. That they say, we invest our resources in the O-line and the D-line. That's how we know we are going to be competitive. So when you're investing the money you are in the Cam Jurgens and Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson and Jordan Mailata, it's a luxury then to turn around and say, we don't need Mekhi Becton. It can be Steen. It can be Green. It can be whoever. Now, if you want to say Jeff Stoutland is a huge part of that, of course he is. Look, Jason Kelce only became Kelce when Stoutland came to Philadelphia. Howard Mudd was not turning Jason Kelce into a 6-time All-Pro center. No offense to Howard Mudd. I've heard a lot of nice, good stories about him. But Stoutland has been able to unlock something special in these young men that we have to take advantage of for as long as he's in Philadelphia. And part of taking advantage of that is saying, Jurgens, Mailata, Dickerson, Lane, you're the guys. Let's do this. And then we're going to trust Stoutland to figure out the rest. Because when you put talented players and you pair them with really good coaches, you're going to get teams like the Eagles winning Super Bowl 59. Josh Hennig hanging out in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Coming up on the other side, Nick's Nuggets. Nicky Earnshaw is back for another edition of Nick's Nuggets here on 97.3 ESPN. We're also live on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig, where you can catch me and Nick back and forth next.
This is the home of the Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles.
The Philadelphia Eagles have won Super Bowl 59. They have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22.
97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card, good for use at Provenza Restaurant and Event Center on Wellington Avenue in Ventnor for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com. ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident it can make your hiring easier that it lets you try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. So if you want the right candidates for all your roles, ZipRecruiter is the place to go. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Want to stay out of the dark the next time a storm hits? Then reach out to Calvi Electric, a certified Generac dealer. From installation to maintenance, they're your go-to experts for Generac generators, ensuring your home stays powered through any storm. A Generac home standby generator will automatically restore power to your home during an outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Put your trust in Calvi Electric, the premier electrical contractor serving South Jersey for over 115 years. Visit CalviElectric.com today and stay ahead of any storm.
Progressive knows owning a home can be hard, but not always. Like when you're relaxing on your patio, enjoying a nice, quiet evening. So quiet. Except for the sound of the neighbor's party. Which you said you'd go to if you weren't busy. And your quiet night on the patio, that's not exactly busy, is it? Maybe you should just stay inside. At least Progressive's Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance is the easiest part of owning a home. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Sebastian Maniscalco.
Now, is this a family? Is this your mother? Where is she? Is she in the crowd? The mom's up there. What kind of family is this? I'm sorry.
It Ain't Right Tour 2025.
The poor mother is in the balcony, and the kids are down here with the father and his gumad. If this was the 80s, the kids would have been up there, and the parents would have been down here.
The biggest comedian in the history of Atlantic City. Live at Ovation Hall and Ocean Casino Resort, September 18th to 28th. Get tickets now at theoceanac.com.
It's time to find appliances that fit your needs and your style at the Home Depot. Shop Spring Black Friday savings and get up to 35% off select appliances like GE Profile, plus free delivery. From all-in-one washer-dryer combos that can wash and dry a full load in under 2 hours to feature-loaded refrigerators with built-in autofill water pitchers, GE Profile has appliances made to simplify your life and elevate your home. Shop Spring Black Friday savings on top brand appliances and get free delivery happening now at the Home Depot. Free delivery on appliance purchases of $396 or more. Offer valid April 3rd through April 23rd. U.S. only. See store online for details.
You have the choice, whether it's going out to dinner or ordering takeout at a local restaurant. Those choices help to put money back into your community. And Town Square Media South Jersey puts a spotlight on local restaurants.
Go deep at Jester's Dive Bar in Rio Grande. Jester'sDiveBar.com. Provenza Restaurant in Ventnor, a Latin American steakhouse with daily specials. Find them on Facebook. The Cheese Board is back in Central Square, Linwood, with Chef Justin reviving the classic flavors you love.
Thank you for supporting these great local restaurants.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. Phillies are at Citi Field tonight, starting a series with the Mets. Philadelphia will go with Aaron Nola. He's 0-4, has an ERA of 6.65. Tyler McGill will go for the Mets. He's 2-2, a 1.40 ERA. Phillies took 2 of 3 from Miami, but did lose Sunday 7-5. Bryce Harper had a 2-run double in the loss, while the Mets have a 2-game lead over Philadelphia in the division, coming off a sweep against St. Louis. NFL Draft, the Eagles picking last in the first round on Thursday night in Green Bay. As Super Bowl champions, they also have the final pick in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. They also have 4 selections in the 5th round, but do not have a pick in rounds 6 and 7. The Eagles also reached a 4-year contract extension with center Cam Jurgens. The deal runs through 2029, worth $68 million. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
What's your name? Leonard Skinnard. Live in
concert. Friday, May 30th, Ovation Hall and Ocean Casino Resort. Celebrating 50 years of Leonard Skinner. Tickets on sale now at theoceanac.com.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. A weak cold front arrives tonight, driving in some clouds and a smattering of raindrops, and that's it. There's really no difference in temperatures. In fact, we'll swing right back to the warm side tomorrow. Chance of a shower tonight, low 57. Tomorrow's high, 76, with morning clouds, then sunshine building in. Wednesday will be mostly sunny and pleasant, high 71. Thursday, partly sunny and 72. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
New Jersey's got a lot of summer wow. We got your under the sun wows. Your this is too much fun wows. Your that wine was sublime wows. And your one more time wows. So come see what your wow's gonna be. New Jersey, it's one summer wow after another after another. Find your wow at visitnj.org. New Jersey, little state, lot of wow.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Josh Hennig, affiliate for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. You know, I know someone who's a big fan of Future and Metro Boomin is Nick Earnshaw. It's a shame he wasn't actually watching WrestleMania this weekend because Metro Boomin and Future were there. They were in the crowd with all the other the amount of celebrities who were at WrestleMania this weekend got a little exhausting. It was like I'm trying to keep up with all these people, and it's like I know that person, don't know that person. No, you don't know that person. Like it was absolutely nuts this weekend with WrestleMania. But I'm sure Nick Earnshaw's got plenty of other nuggets for us here on a Monday edition on 97.3 ESPN. By the way, Nick's Nuggets are brought to you by The Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. Nick Earnshaw, you work pretty hard. How you doing today, my friend?
What's going on, Josh? First of all, I watched WrestleMania this weekend. I even tweeted it out, my thoughts on WrestleMania this past weekend. You know what? I was going to save that for the third nugget. I was going to save that for last, but you know what? That's getting bumped to nugget number one. We're going to talk a little WrestleMania to start this thing off, all right?
All right. I'm here for it.
But I did see that Metro Boomin was there. Listen, I mean, Future Metro Boomin, my favorite artists of all time. We know this. I have them hanging in my office. I have the album in my office. So yes, it's very well known and well documented how much of a Future and Metro Boomin fan I am. And half the audience probably has no idea who that is, but that's okay. That's my favorite artist, and I don't care. We're going to get into WrestleMania a little bit. And there was a ton of celebrities there. There's Jameer Gibbs. I saw Flav was there. There was tons of people. George Kittle was there as well. So there was tons of people. I know Herb Street in the prelims, I guess, leading up to like the start of WrestleMania, Herb Street was there. They pointed him out as they were doing like a walk around the stage. That was pretty funny. So there was a ton of people there. So I'll start. I will say this. I watch wrestling maybe once, twice a year. Okay. Max. That's about as much as I'll watch. I'll tune into WrestleMania. Last year, the nostalgia was fantastic. That main event last night was an absolute atrocity, Josh Hennig. That was a disgrace. I was bored out of my mind. I like Travis Scott's music. It's fine. It's great. I've gone to Travis Scott concerts, Josh Hennig. That was awful. I've never seen such horrible what was that? They couldn't have had anyone else come out. Travis Scott was the big entrance during the main event. That was it. How are you're supposed to top last year? No, you don't have to top last year. I shouldn't say that. Last year's WrestleMania.
No. You should. You should always try to top the year before. You should.
Okay.
Here's the deal. Okay, so first of all, there's a reason why I'm wearing this shirt today. For those who are watching on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig, I'm wearing the Rock shirt, okay? Because that's who's one of the people who should have showed up last night. The final boss, The Rock, he's the one who set this whole thing up, right? He's the one who told John Cena to turn heel. He should have been there last night to egg him on, to encourage him on. Having Travis Scott come out was the most fabricated, forced thing ever. And by the way, the whole point of having outsiders, Nick, in pro wrestling is to have someone for both sides. No one came to Cody Rhodes' rescue. The whole point of what happened, what we saw on Saturday night, which was epic, by the way, the three-way match with Paul Heyman, with the double heel turn, the double betrayal, was there was outside interference. You should have had somebody show up there for Cody Rhodes. And then The Rock should have showed up and shut it down. And it create a whole new level of like, oh my goodness, who's going to win this fight? No, instead, they tried way too hard to push the whole Cody Rhodes is the good guy. He's not going to do the wrong thing. Cena's going to be the dirty player. He's going to take Ric Flair's record doing it Ric Flair's way. They really tried to amp that angle up, and it just was not as good as it should have been. Mike Mcgarry said it earlier in the show. He said, Saturday night was incredible. Sunday night, not so much.
Yep.
And it's a shame because, to me, the moment of the weekend was Becky Lynch. When she made the appearance, nobody knew she was going to be there. No one, when she was there because of her husband, Seth Rollins, the night before. That's a viral clip out there. I know in your world of like TikTokers and stuff, that Becky Lynch video of her getting excited when Seth Rollins won on Saturday night. She was there, but no one knew she was competing. And she hasn't competed in over a year because she had a baby. So it's like, here comes the man out to help her countrymen. And that was an epic moment. And have that squandered by the Code Cena deflation.
Yeah, I was massively disappointed. Listen, I'm not like this gigantic wrestling fan. I will not try to pretend to be. But I do tune into WrestleMania. Maybe I'll watch a SmackDown or a Raw here and there. Or a pay-per-view throughout the year, maybe again. So I kind of knew the storyline going in, but the fact that's all they could come up with in that main event with John Cena last night, it was frustrating. As a casual, the Saturday night one was so much better. The Reigns, Seth Rollins, the Paul Heyman, turning on. That was awesome. That was so much better than Sunday night. I was extremely disappointed in the main event last night, but I had to get that out there. And I knew you were going to talk about it today. And I know you put out there in the promotional tweet today of the show, are you going to talk about WrestleMania? You're dang right we are. You're dang right we are.
And really quick, the other thing is that, and I know there is a small segment of the population who like him. I thought that Dominic Mysterio winning the Intercontinental belt was a bad move. I felt like, I know why they did it. They want the storyline now that him taking out his Judgment Day partner to get the belt, that's going to ruin Judgment Day, and they're going to create this whole narrative now where they're going to break up the band, and it's going to be, fractions, and, they're going to build up the backlash. There's going to be revenge between probably Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio, and eventually Liv Morgan and him will break up, and there'll be all kinds of weird stuff like that. By the way, Liv Morgan, Jersey girl, I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that. How about
she's
that?
In New Jersey.
Love that. Yeah, listen, Saturday night was great. There were some other great matches as well. The first match last night in the women's division was fantastic too. That was a great match as well. So I was locked in. I did watch wrestling. I did step outside my comfort zone, Josh Hennig, and I watched it for you. I did it for you.
Now, for that being said, I asked the question earlier in the show. I'll ask it to you here.
Okay.
How did you delineate your weekend? Because I was surprised how little basketball I ended up watching. I was all in on the Phillies. I was all in on WrestleMania. But I got to tell you, the basketball and the hockey fell very far behind, and I did not expect that to happen.
Yeah, so I heard you talking to Mike Gill, calling into his own show. Helicopters are flying in the background. Who the hell knows where he's at? So that was pretty funny. I divvied it up. I watched the Phillies over the weekend, all Phillies games. I watched WrestleMania both nights, snuck in a little Knicks in there as well against the Pistons. Yeah, Knicks Pistons. And we're going to get to that nugget in just a second too. Yeah, I got a nugget about that. So I broke it up a little bit. No hockey this weekend. Didn't get in any NHL playoffs. Hopefully during the week that'll come up a little bit more. But yeah, I'll probably watch a little bit more basketball. It just stinks without the Sixers being in it. I mean, since 2017, we have had playoff basketball in this city. This is the time of year where we all get our hopes up, get excited, and then they flounder in about a week or two around Mother's Day. Okay, when Mother's Day comes around, that's when they fall apart. So I don't know what to do. I love baseball, but it is April. It's still very early in the season. So I'm going to watch the Phillies, but I will check into some basketball, even though I'm crying on the inside. I think most of the Delaware Valley is also crying on the inside, not being able to watch basketball in the playoffs around this area with the Sixers being in. All right, I want to move along to nugget number 2 because we got the WrestleMania out of the way. It was a disappointment. We get it. Nugget number 2. This was a question I thought about in the shower the other day, okay? This is what I think about while I'm in the shower. I think of content ideas for the Nuggets.
TMI, but okay, go on.
It's fine. I put out a poll on Twitter yesterday morning. And by the way, I hope everyone had a great Easter on Sunday, had a great Easter weekend. Same to you, Josh. The poll question I thought of, and it was just something that was crossing my mind. I know it's way too early, but I just wanted to get a gauge of where we're at as a fan base right now. As of now, April 21st, who is starting game 2 of a postseason series for you, Josh Hennig? And if the audience wants to chime in at 609-403-0973 as well, they can too. Who would you choose to start game 2 of a playoff series? Because we know the ball's going to Wheeler in game 1. I put Nola, Luzardo, Sanchez, and Ranger as the options. Jesus Luzardo won the poll with 48% of the vote. That's almost half. Ranger had none. Sanchez had 34%. Nola had 17%. Josh, who are you choosing? If you had to choose right this second, right now, playoff series for the Phillies, who is starting game 2 of a postseason series for you?
Well, my gut instinct is to go with what the majority of your voters did, which is Luzardo. That would be my gut instinct. Now, I would ask, is game 2 at home or not? Because game 2 is at home, I'm starting Sanchez. Because I think Sanchez is much better at home than he is on the road. You can
give me home and road. Give me home and road.
Home is Sanchez. Road is Luzardo.
Wow. So you're not going Nola at all?
No.
Why?
2 reasons. One, because I think that he's fallen behind Luzardo and Sanchez at this point. I think Luzardo and Sanchez, they're just more reliable options, 1. 2, the majority of teams you will face in the postseason, not in the Padres, excluding them, the majority of those teams, their best hitters are left-handed. Okay? So I want Sanchez. I want Luzardo. I want my lefty against your lefty is the second reason. The third reason is I don't know if Nola is 100% regressed as much as it is Luzardo and Sanchez have passed him. You know what I mean? Because, as I said to Mike Gill earlier, how much of this really is the catcher? Like, Marchand caught him for 3 games. Is it maybe just getting Real Muto back and then Nola's got 6 innings with 2 runs allowed and 10 strikeouts tonight? It's very possible.
I'm going to disagree with the majority. I'm going to disagree with you and most people out there. I'm going to be in the 17.2%, and I'm going to go with Aaron Nola. Here's why. Aaron Nola, I listen, he's had rough Aprils before in the past, okay? I trust Aaron Nola because he's been there before. He's experienced it, and when it's postseason time, when it's a big game, I want Aaron Nola on the hill. I don't think he's regressed as much as you think. I think Aaron Nola is somebody you want starting a postseason game. Postseason Nola is different than regular season Nola. I know the question is, as of April 21st, April 20th, I put it out yesterday. I understand that. Here's the thing, though. When it's a big game, Aaron Nola, for some reason, usually shows up for the most part. Most of the time in his playoff career, he has shown up. I trust Aaron Nola in the playoffs. I'd want him on the mound. He's been in Philly for a long time. He is a guy who has that postseason pedigree. He's got the dog in him. He's your horse for a reason. I'm going Aaron Nola. It's a gut feeling. The numbers do say in big games he has shown up before. I want Aaron Nola. It's not because of the matchups. It's because of the big game pedigree from Nola. So I would want him still starting road or home. I don't care. Nola's my game 2 starter, no doubts. Wheeler, Nola, that's your 1-2 punch. And then Luzardo and Sanchez after that, you're still in a great spot.
Yeah, I can't agree with that only because, like I said, I think both those guys have ascended. And I like the idea of I'm in a series with the Dodgers. I want Luzardo or Sanchez game 2. I want him to put Ohtani and I want to put Freeman at a disadvantage.
I hear you. I want Nola against those guys because I trust him. I trust Nola in those big spots, man. I feel like he is the guy I want in the big moment. Like, obviously, Wheeler, we know starting game 1. That's a given. But Nola in that game 2 spot, I would prefer. Even if you lose that game 2 spot, now you have Luzardo and Sanchez coming back in games 3 and 4. So I think it just sets you up better as the series progresses, especially in a 5-game series or in a 7-game series. I think the way the series progresses, I would prefer having those guys on the back end as well. And if you can go up 2-0 with Wheeler and Nola, you're in a great spot with Luzardo and Sanchez in those next 2 games.
I hear you. All right, what's next?
All right. Final nugget number 3. I got to talk about this, Josh. I got to talk about how frustrated it was. I did sneak in a little playoff basketball, and I tweeted this out as well. How about Tobias Harris? And I know the Pistons lost. I know the Pistons lost this game, but he had over 20 points in the first half of the playoff game against the Knicks, game 1, Madison Square Garden. What on earth? What on earth? Where was this Tobias Harris with the 76ers? This is the same guy who dropped no points in an elimination game last year, just a year ago, not too long ago. He just loves playing with mediocre teams, and that's when he starts to rise. When the pressure builds, he falls apart. Now, the second half, he didn't have as good of a first half. But overall, Tobias Harris playing in a playoff game with the Detroit Pistons against the New York Knicks. I can't think of a more aggravating Philadelphia athlete in the last 10 to 15 years than Tobias Harris. He has been one of the most frustrating Philadelphia athletes to play here in a long time. I'd put him up there in the top 3 of most frustrating athletes within the past 15 to 20 years, just because of the contract he was paid, the production he did give with the 76ers on that contract, and now leaving, helping bring a Pistons team who was dead in the water last year to a postseason berth and playing against the Knicks and having a masterful first half in that first game. That was extremely nauseating, Josh. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that game, but man, was that frustrating.
I mean, I saw some of it. Like I said, I wasn't really that engaged to it. You know, my weekend was pretty heavy on the Phillies and WrestleMania, but I did see some of it. I got to be honest with you. I don't know what to do with Tobias Harris at this point. I feel like he is a paradox under an anomaly inside of a Rubik's Cube. I don't know. I mean, he's the kind of person that you just don't have an explanation for. And maybe one day we'll have like a 30 for 30 or a Netflix documentary or something where it's like the real Tobias Harris.
We don't want that documentary.
It's coming. It's coming.
Keep that one in the archives. That never needs to see the light of day.
But I mean, you know, maybe there is something. You know, Mike Gill was talking about the Red Sox documentary on Netflix.
Yes.
And, you know, is it just something that Tobias Harris was never built for this city? Like, is Tobias Harris just the kind of player where they should have never kept him?
I think that's definitely part of it. I don't think he was built for Philadelphia at all. At all. I mean, the guy always came up small in the biggest moment. Listen, there were games where he would play really good defense against a top player, right? Like, he would have good defensive moments, which is great. You need that in the playoffs, especially when things tighten up in today's NBA and they go to the half-court setting. But offensively, they did not get what they paid for. The ROI on Tobias Harris was not what you expected. They gave him a max deal, a near max deal. Let Jimmy Butler walk, but that there's a lot of reasons for the way that shaked out. I don't know. Who's more frustrating to you? Would it be Ben Simmons or would it be Tobias Harris?
Oh, it's Tobias Harris, 100%.
I think Tobias Harris has to be right there.
It's not even a question to me because the thing with Simmons is I can point to reasons why that didn't work. You know what I mean? You had, at the end, it was the injuries, right? Early on, it was the mental issues,
Yep.
you know, him not wanting to shoot, the whole off the court family drama. You know, we all saw the documentary with LSU, and it was like, oh, we should have seen this coming, right? You know, like, there was at least stuff I could point to, be like, this is the list of reasons why Ben Simmons didn't work. Tobias Harris, it never made sense to me. It never made sense why a guy who was that beloved by his teammates, that much of a hard worker, that much of a good human being, was just such an incompetent individual for the 76ers in the biggest moments.
And it would be like he would have great games against the Pistons, like when Embiid would be out or something, right? It'd be Tobias's team. He dropped 35 against the Detroit Pistons, a bad team, right? Like all those bad teams he'd always show out against. And then like he would miss layups. He would miss the easy baskets. He would fall asleep on defense or offense or something. Something dumb would happen. And it would just be so frustrating to watch because you knew you could get more out of him. And look, I mean, he's doing it now. Listen, I know he fell apart in the second half and didn't really do much. But in that first half, that was Tobias Harris the Sixers thought they were going to get for years and years and years. And he came up small time and time again. Now, I don't know if I would say I was more frustrated with Tobias than Ben Simmons, but man, Tobias has to be right there because of the contract you gave him, the expectation, and the way he floundered in big moments. He's one of the most frustrating Philadelphia athletes of my lifetime, for sure. It's not even close. So, because he's a good player, and I think everyone knew what Tobias could bring to the table, and that's what was so frustrating, because you knew you could get good defensive out of him, and then we have seen him get good offensively, right? Like, get it going, get hot on the offensive side of things, in transition, etc., but then he'd miss layups, all this type of stuff. And just watching him with the Pistons, the Detroit Pistons, playing a playoff game in Madison Square Garden, that just is a culmination of this 76er season. Everything that could have went wrong did go wrong. And Tobias Harris is the poster boy, part of it that no one's really talking about, of how bad of a season this was for the 76ers. It all ties back to Philadelphia.
All right, we got a couple minutes left. What, you got a found nugget for us here?
That's all I got. I got a 3-pack of nuggets for you.
That's all you got. Well, I got a nugget for you then.
I
was waiting to see if you would get this or not.
Mm.
So I got to know from you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So as I mentioned, you know, there were a lot of celebrities at WrestleMania. The NBA playoffs going on. The NHL playoffs going on. The Phillies are going on. How does Nick Earnshaw feel about the showing of celebrities at events? Because I felt like between the NBA playoffs and the WrestleMania, I was getting tired of it. Like, I didn't need to know every single person in the crowd who is there. At some point, it's like, give me back to the action. I don't care. Get the camera off the celebrities. Let me get me back to the NBA game.
Honestly, for me, I'm trying to think. Like, it just doesn't bother me. I think that's like, I just get up and walk away. I think that's the way I look at it.
All right, well, that's no fun. I thought I was going to get more out of you than that. Although I do think your side is starting to buffer right now or something, so. I don't even know if Dick can hear me anymore. He's just sitting there. Oh, now he laughed. Okay, there we go. Technology, it's a beautiful thing. All right, Nick, I'm going to let you go because I think your side is not working there for a minute there. So,
see you, Josh. Thanks so much.
All right, Nick Earnshaw here for Nick's Nuggets, brought to you by The Hub. Man, technology really failed us right there at the end. But either way, Nick Earnshaw's segment is brought to you by The Hub, with locations in Mays Landing and Summers Point. Gear that works as hard as you do. Brings you Nick's Nuggets every day here on 97.3 ESPN. Yeah, he just texted me. He said, my side started cutting out. Yeah, well, on our side, it looked like you were frozen. So, coming up next, Ryan Rothstein joins us here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday edition of the Sports Bash. Still to come, what is on Ryan Rothstein's mind? Phillies, NBA, WrestleMania? Find out coming up next here on 97.3 ESPN.
This Friday, April 25th, get to Boardwalk Honda between 2 and 6 for your chance to see history. The Verge Championship Trophy will be on display during a live broadcast of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Snap a pic with a trophy that sealed the Birds' big game victory. And while you're there, lock in your spring savings. Boardwalk Honda has over 200 Hondas in stock. Cars, SUVs, trucks, ready for immediate delivery. Only at Boardwalk Honda on Tilton Road in Egg Harbor Township or online at boardwalkhonda.com.
Right now at the Home Depot, shop Spring Black Friday savings up to 35% off select appliances plus free delivery from top brands like Samsung. Get tech you can trust to simplify your daily routines. From all-in-one
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. That does give us certain advantages, for example, in focus and resources. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Cordell & Cordell, a partner you can count on.
Philadelphia, Radnor, Allentown, and Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Michelle Ferreri, licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois.
Good morning, Doctor.
Doctor?
Hi, Doctor.
Doctor?
Dr. Jackson's practice is growing.
What do you mean we're still short-staffed?
He needs a good patient doctor.
How do we not have enough doctors to doctor all these patients?
And he doesn't have the patience to sift through hundreds of resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Tune in to the Bet365 Play of the Day during the Sports Bash with me, Mike Gill, every weekday afternoon at 5:45 on 97.3 ESPN. Made possible by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort studio, here's Mike Gill.
Josh and I driving you home in the 5 o'clock hour here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Of course, Mike Gill with the day. He is out taking care of some personal stuff, and he'll be back in the saddle tomorrow here on 97.3 ESPN. As always, you guys can join the conversation, 609-403-0973. Phillies win 4 out of 7, but they looked horrible yesterday. You have a situation where the Eagles get ready for the draft, and they sign Cam Jurgens. How about them apples? As I mentioned earlier, WrestleMania was higher on the hierarchy than the NBA playoffs. I think I might have watched a little more than Nuggets did. I think if we had to rank the NBA, although Mike Gill pretty much dismissed the NBA playoffs as well. He was watching Netflix. So, well, let's see what Ryan Rothstein has to say. Rye or side. Maybe that's where we start with Rye or side today on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. Does Ryan Rothstein rye or sigh at the idea of Mike Gill watching Netflix over the NBA playoffs?
It's a sigh, probably. It's probably a sigh. It depends what he was watching on Netflix, though. And
he was watching the documentary about the Red Sox last year.
And at what point in the day was, like, what NBA game did he miss?
Trying to remember. I think he said he watched part of the Knicks Pistons. He bailed on the OKC game, he basically said, and I forget the other one. But he basically said he tried to watch some of it, but it didn't have it for him.
All right. I mean, it's a little bit of a sigh, given what we do and what what you need to follow. If it's not NBA playoffs, it should have been WrestleMania. But
well, his reason was he didn't have Peacock. That's his reason. Now, my rebuttal to that is, and tell me, Ryan, you can weigh in because you are younger than me and Gil, okay? My thing was I decided to get Peacock for 1 month because I wanted to watch WrestleMania. I'm going to get rid of it after 1 month. And I'm going to use this 1 month to watch all the random stuff that are on Peacock that I wouldn't watch otherwise. I'm going to binge it out. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to go back to Netflix.
Yeah, can't you get a free trial with Peacock?
Peacock doesn't offer free trials anymore. I learned that the hard way.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did get a sweet package where I got all the NBC Sports Philadelphia stuff bundled in with the regular Peacock. So
there you go. There you go. See, it's worth it. And for a month, you can try it out. If there's an event or two that you want to watch, it's not the end of the world.
I think
so
for
I'm surprised
Gil
didn't do that.
Well, I think Gil, and I can't speak for him because he has mentioned before about how he feels like he got pretty much shafted because he was trying to not keep Apple TV Plus, and he got like suckered into keeping it. So now he feels like he's like paying for too many things.
How do you get suckered into keeping it? I mean, you just cancel it. I don't know how did. I'd love to hear the story of how he got suckered into keeping something. I don't.
I might be oversimplifying it, but
yeah, no, but that sounds like something he would say. But
all right, so Ryan Rothstein, of course, he is a podcaster at Wise Rye on the Twitter X platform. What is on Ryan's mind today, or Rye or Sigh?
We can start with some. Do you want to do some WrestleMania stuff? Just because I saw a
love
lot of people
WrestleMania stuff. Absolutely.
You watched, right?
Of course I did. I watched both nights. I was engaged. I got a pizza from one of my favorite places. Had the pie next to me on Saturday night, and then ate leftovers on Sunday. It was a beautiful weekend for a single guy like me.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful. Sign me up. What did you think? What did you think of it? I'll let you kind of get your opinion out there.
So I thought night one was incredible. I thought the triple threat match at the end was awesome. What they had, I mean, the whole dynamic of Paul Heyman double betrayal. First he betrays CM Punk, then he betrays Reigns. No one saw it coming. Rollins walks away. And I like the fact there was no belt on the line. It was kind of like, let the grudge match happen. Let them work this thing out, right? And I also thought the whole dynamic of, I'm a little surprised that Io Sky, that she won on Sunday in the triple threat match, but I thought it was a great match nonetheless. The fact that we are at a point right now where three of the biggest female names in professional wrestling all don't have belts right now is absolutely wild. Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, they don't have belts right now. So that's kind of a wild dynamic they're going with right now, but I get it. They're doing for storylines. I was a little surprised Dominic Mysterio got the belt in the Intercontinental match, but it's a great storyline. Now he can break up Judgment Day, have all these feuds. Him and Liv can break up at some point, get that stupid thing over with. So, I thought overall it was a great job. I know a lot of people didn't like the Cena, Cody Rhodes match. It felt very deflating. It was like last year, you had all these cameos, and this year it's like, it kind of like fell a little flat at the end. But I get it, Ryan. It's the whole idea that if you're going to break the record of the dirtiest player in the game, let Cena basically pull it the Flair away, let him fully embrace the villain role, and let him get the thing. Because guess what's going to happen? Rhodes going to get the belt back at SummerSlam. We're going to build up to that. And then John's going to have one more match in December, and he'll ride off into the sunset.
Yeah, I didn't watch Saturday night. So, I'm not going to give any thought on Saturday night. I did not view it, but I watched Sunday, and I watched the main event, and I watched the two matches leading up to the main event. I thought it was horrible. I thought it was horrible. I'm not someone that watched the WWE closely at all throughout this year, but I did understand, and I was aware of the storylines like leading up to it. But I thought, someone that grew up on wrestling and, following wrestling for a majority of my life, you should still be able to turn into WrestleMania, even if you're not aware of the storylines, and it should still be more entertaining than what I saw last night. I thought all the matches that I watched were short, like 30 minutes or less. And like WrestleMania matches are usually, from what I'm accustomed to, like an hour. I mean, especially if you're talking about the title belt main event Sunday night WrestleMania. I mean, that match can be an hour and a half if you want it to be. Like legitimately, especially with how long that night was. It wasn't long. So I was like, what the heck are they doing? I thought the whole match was boring. No drama, no back and forth. I thought there was no involvement of Cody Rhodes at all. He basically just got he was just laying around on the mat. John Cena was walking around, looking around, and then it ended. It was just it was bad. It was really bad for how much is being discussed about Triple H is our Lord and Savior. He's made this just the best thing ever. I don't know. I just I haven't seen it. I haven't seen that. So I thought it was a big swing and a miss.
Well, and I think that's where it's very frustrating because you said you didn't watch Saturday. Saturday was way better than Sunday. Yeah. And that's a problem because for someone like yourself who says, listen, I love basketball and I'm going to watch Lakers T-Wolves or I want to see, Knicks Pistons or whatever you watch the Nuggets go to overtime with the Clippers, right? I'm recalling these games correctly, right?
Yeah. I mean, your point's going to hit home either way.
Yeah, the point is that there's playoff basketball on. So for someone like you, you're saying I'm going to choose Sunday over Saturday. Both days have to deliver. And the problem is, guess what? You missed the best match of Sunday, which was the women's triple threat. You got in after that.
Right.
That was the first match of the night. That's another mistake. You could have said that should have been the main event instead of the first event of the night. So I think that's where, like you just said, Ryan, Triple H supposed to be the savior and the hero and the blah, blah, blah. Well, you can't have one night be great and the other night fizzle at the end.
Yeah, and to me, I interpret Saturday being great and Sunday being bad as all right, Saturdays, since we're doing two nights, Saturday we'll actually do it old school how we're supposed to do it, with the storylines, and then Sunday we're going to try something kind of different. I don't know. I could be completely off base. I didn't even see Saturday, so I'm just but it just feels well, then why did you do it one way one night and then another way the next? It just doesn't add up to me. I don't know why they would do that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm assuming maybe what you just said is correct, where it's hey, we're gonna try to do one night one way, the next night the other way. Maybe that's what the theory was. Like I said, the triple threat match between Rollins, Reigns, and Punk was kind of like a once in a lifetime kind of showdown on Saturday night, and there was a lot of energy that went into that, and I think that there was a good amount of build up. You know what I mean for that. It was the way they built the Saturday card, now that I'm thinking about it, you're right, Ryan, is that you didn't even watch it, and you were right. It's the idea that the Saturday night was the proper build-up, where it was every match seemed to get better with more on the line and more on the line. And then Sunday felt like it was kind of pieced together. Right. I guess you could say it was almost it was it didn't – there was no build-up. It was there was an amazing match at the beginning. And then it was okay, here's McIntyre and
that was the first time they did two nights, right?
No, this has been going on for a few years now. So for those who don't remember, they first did the two night during COVID years ago because they were doing the whole basically a studio production. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it was that the COVID year they did the whole thing where it was it was The Undertaker burying AJ Styles in a random barn and all kinds of weird stuff. And Edge almost dies, quote unquote, dies, in his return. Yeah. So they really try to get the theatrical element because they had no fans. Well, apparently that it went over so well in terms of viewership, they basically have kept the 2-night model.
Okay. I didn't realize it was going on for that long. That's 4 or 5 years.
But for example, on Monday, today's Monday, Saturday, you open with Jey Uso winning the belt, which was a big deal. And then you kind of ramp up with, different matches to the point where your co-main event was, Charlotte Flair being upset. And that led into your main event with Rollins, Reigns, and Punk. Whereas last night, you opened with a banger. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then it's And then you're throwing in there an Intercontinental match, and you're throwing in there a street fight with Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, and like, oh yeah, by the way, AJ Styles and Logan Paul, and nobody cares, and unless
I actually thought that match was decent. I did watch the Logan Paul match, and I thought that was better than the main event. I thought that was better than the main event. Logan Paul
was certainly more entertaining.
Yeah, because I was like, all right, Logan Paul is like an athlete. Like, he was actually impressive to me, and AJ Styles is AJ Styles. Like, I was like, all right, that match was actually decent, but it wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be. But long enough probably for those two guys, like, whatever. But I thought that was the best match that I watched last night, actually. And it wasn't even that good, but it was better than the others.
See, for me, I think, and I hate saying it this way, but this is, I think, where pro wrestling is like kind of slipping at times. You can't have the two women's matches be better than the men's matches. You just I know that sounds a little ridiculous, but like Becky Lynch coming out last night was massive.
That was cool. Yeah,
like
that was cool.
No one knew she was going to compete. Nobody. Like, that was a secret. Apparently, I forget who reported, but apparently, like, this was like 7 months planning. There was like the last 7 months they've been planning for her to return for this moment. And apparently, it's building to a whole storyline now. Like, that was a great moment. And then having the women's three-way match, I mean, that was just like high-flying, crazy moves for like 45 minutes, just like nonstop crazy jumps. And then it's like, and then the main event is just guys stepping in out of the ring, like you said.
Yeah, it was so bad. It was so bad. I mean, and I don't. How do you not have The Rock there? Like, given the storylines.
Well, let me ask you, Ryan. Is it just me? But was like, why didn't anyone come to Cody Rhodes' defense? Like, should there have been some rando who would have been like, then Travis Scott like spoils it? Like, have somebody show up for Cody. Why is Cody like a Lone Ranger out there?
No, yeah, 100%. Like, they gave no effort to have any Cody like energy at all. Like, we don't want him to do anything at any point. That's basically what it was, which is so weird for them to just go about it that way. They never go about things that way for any type of match. Like, you could have had The Rock come out. You could have had Stone Cold come out. You could have had them fighting. You could have had like a chair involved. Like, you could have done like the cliche stuff that would have been a home run. That
George Kittle's in the crowd. Get him involved. Do something.
Yeah, like have him come out and hit Travis Scott. Like you could have done so many different things.
Yeah.
And they just did. They like chose nothing. Like none of the above. It was so strange.
Yeah, it was definitely strange. All right, we've talked long enough about WrestleMania. He's Ryan Rothstein. I'm Josh Hennig. I'm filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. Ryan's in his usual rye or size slot. So what else you got going on in that mind of yours?
Yeah, a lot. I don't know if we're going to dig in too much, but we can talk some Phils, right? The Phillies had an interesting weekend, and what sticks out to me is that bullpen of theirs disappointing. Again, I guess I can say again, it hasn't been too often, but it's been enough where we say, this bullpen is going to be the death of them. And, for them to blow a game against the Miami Marlins, how they did was, concerning to me. It was concerning to me. Like, you can't have that type of lead against a team like the Miami Marlins and end up losing. Like, and because it's because of your bullpen. It's a concern, right? Like, this team's done a great job of, I believe they lead the NL, maybe Major League Baseball in first inning runs. I don't know if it's both or just the NL. I have to double check that.
I think it's just the NL right now.
Okay,
yeah.
Just the NL.
But still, that's a
no.
legit.
Yeah, either way, it's impressive. Like, this team's done a great job of getting out to an early lead, attacking early, and they need to take advantage of that. They did it again against Miami on Saturday. I think it's the game I'm referring to, which they blew the game with the bullpen. And I said this with Gill a bunch of times, but I don't believe that this bullpen is deep enough and good enough to help get this team where we all want it to go, which is not just to a World Series, which is not just to an NLCS, but it's a parade down Broad Street. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if they're going to be able to make a significant enough trade before the deadline, closer to the deadline this summer, that we're going to really be able to say that moved the needle. I don't know, man. It's a concern. I don't know where you stand on it, but that's sort of how I outline that.
Well, the question I asked earlier today was, are you getting any 2021 vibes? Remember 2021, they had 34 blown saves, right? So It's like they lead baseball right now with 6 blown saves. Like, at what point do we like I'm getting deja vu. I'm having like nightmares. I mentioned earlier, it's like I'm having nightmares, dreams about this Phillies bullpen. So it's like, am I being a
Well, they
little
don't
too
even have a
extreme?
closer right now. Who's the Phillies closer?
Alvarado, he's 5 for 5.
I guess. I mean, they haven't really come out and said that. I agree with you. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, clearly 5 for 5. Okay. Why isn't he out there every save chance opportunity then? Why isn't
Well,
he
I mean,
out there?
theoretically, he shouldn't have to come in on Saturday after Romano wasn't such a loser at life.
No, he shouldn't. But what was the score? What was the score when
Romano came in? It was 11-4.
Right.
He allowed
11.
6 runs. 6 runs. I'm sitting at a brewery and I'm like, I need more alcohol to deal with the rest of this game, Ryan.
No, I know, but at what point do you have to you go back to your closer, right? You have to go back to your closer. Listen, you shouldn't give up 6 runs at any point. It's just it's a travesty, and that's the problem with this team. Is like, okay, if you want to say Alvarado's their closer, fine, but they're still all over the board with who they decide to go out there, whether they have a big lead or a small lead, and then they don't have anyone in between. Like when you have a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 run lead, they don't have anyone that they can even go to. Really, it's. You should have your B squad type of guys that you feel confident to roll out there and get the job done. And it's either they have 1 or 2 guys that they can believe in, and that's it. And even those 1 or 2 guys, even Alvarado scares the living daylights out of me. Like he's 5 for 5 in closing opportunities. He still scares the hell out of me. Like you still feel like he's not going to get this save done a lot of the time. I mean, so it's just, I don't know what we have right now. It's not enough.
No, that's totally fair. I think part of the problem also is that, Alvarado and Strom are the only guys on this team in the bullpen of under 3 ERA. Like it's to a point where it's like you don't feel good about anyone going out there. And, Ryan, it doesn't help. The fans are out there. They're seeing Estevez with an 0.90 ERA in Kansas City. Hoffman's got a 1.53 ERA in Toronto. And it's like, well, you could have kept one of them. You'd have to get rid of both of them, and I understand the whole Hoffman thing. Bob Wankel brought up earlier when I had him on about how, like, Hoffman had the injury concerns and, like, the Orioles and Orioles and Braves basically medically red flagged him, wouldn't pay him at all. And the Phillies apparently, like, gave him the same red flag, and the Blue Jays were like, we don't care about your medical, just come over here. Like, I get the Hoffman, but, like, you're telling me that, here's Estevez's deal. You ready for it, Ryan?
Ready.
2 years, $22 million, but the second year is a club option. You telling me that couldn't have been the Phillies?
Yeah, of course. Phillies have spent a lot more money for less. So yeah, dude, absolutely. And it's like, at what point do you say, all right, we have this abundance of riches with our starting rotation. We have guys like Painter, who we've yet to bring up. We have guys like Ranger Suarez, obviously, who still needs to work himself back, hopefully. But at what point do you make some radical decision to say, let's make Aaron Nola our closer. Let's make, let's do something weird here where we have a guy.
That's the question. I'm so glad you mentioned that because I asked that question earlier. I said, why didn't you come to spring training and say, hey, Mick Abel, you haven't been really that good in the minor leagues. Why don't we turn you into a bullpen arm? Just throw gas for an inning.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. Absolutely. But I think I think a decision like that needs to be made. And once everyone's healthy, once Ranger Suarez is healthy, maybe, I don't know when they're going to bring up Painter, if ever, but
July.
Even if they don't, right? Like you still have this depth with your starting rotation. I think you need some talent in the bullpen, and let's add to it by making some decision where it's like, all right, Aaron Nola, can you get us to a World Series? Ranger Suarez, can you be our closer, right? Like something like that where we feel a lot better about this bullpen because right now it's not going to get it done. This team's not going to win a World Series the way that this bullpen's constructed. They're not.
Who would Ryan Rothstein stick in the bullpen of the guys you just mentioned?
Probably Ranger Suarez, but there's a lot of question marks there because of his injuries, and I don't know what Ranger Suarez we're going to have once he gets back. I wouldn't hate entertaining like Aaron Nola. That would never happen, but I think like if he's able to embrace that role and he's able to be a stud out of the bullpen, like you have Wheeler, you have Walker, you have Luzardo, you have Suarez, like this rotation is good enough the way it is. Like if you take Nola and we're able to make him an elite closer, why not? I know that's a completely radical type of way of thinking, but I think this team needs to have that way of thinking. Like whether it's not Nola, I think like my point hits home with that.
Well, it's like Brett Myers years ago. They turned Brett Myers into a closer for a short time until they got Brad Lidge. I'm not saying that's what Nola's going to be, but, Myers was a solid guy out of the bullpen. He did the job pretty good. And so, and maybe it isn't Nola. Maybe it is Ranger. But, like you said, you got to do something.
You got to do something. And, I look at those best-of-7 series, and hopefully they're in 2 of them, the NLCS and the World Series. But, if you're able to move a guy like Nola or another starter out of a starting role, then you can have multiple games where you say, all right, we can go to Nola for 4 innings, right? If you don't want to make him a closer in a Game 5 situation and a Game 7 situation, let's say, right? We can go to Nola for 3 innings, 1 game, 3 innings, another game, right? You have that flexibility now that adds to your depth in the bullpen, and you feel better about getting through these longer series. So they need to do something.
Before I let you, before we get to break,
yeah,
we got way more to get to. Okay,
yeah.
Rye or Cy here on 97.3 ESPN. What are you willing to give up to improve the bullpen? If we're at the deadline, team calls you, you want their whoever it is. Who is Ryan Rothstein? Are you willing to give up a high prospect for a pitcher? Or are you being I'm not going to overpay for someone I might not keep?
Yeah. We can get more into it on the other side, but I'll answer it quickly. I think it's a high prospect for sure, right? This team's in win now mode. This team has spent so much money. This team has already leveraged their future in a lot of ways, and you hate to see them leverage it more, and you hate to see them, get rid of more assets to help them for their future. But at this point, man, this is World Series or bust right now. This is the definition of World Series or bust that we're living in with the Phillies. So yeah, if you feel like you can improve this team this year right away, you do whatever it takes. That's really my answer is you do whatever it takes. I don't care what that looks like. If you can improve this team at the deadline, you do it.
The part of the reason why I say it, though, is because this Saturday, you are going to see one of those prospects that you traded away for a guy. A few years ago, Dave Robertson, you acquired him. That was a so-so reunion, right? Ben Brown look pretty good, the Phillies rotation right about now. I'm just saying.
Yeah. It's never fun when you get rid of someone like that and they end up panning out, but it's, those are the decisions you have to make. You can't hold on to assets like that. I say that all the time, just with the hopes of them panning out, because they don't pan out just as much as they do.
He's Ryan Rothstein. I'm Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. More Rye or Cy coming up next as we dig deeper into, whatever's on Ryan's mind. It could be Eagles, could be the NBA playoffs, or he could just come out of left field and talk hockey. Probably not, but still, we'll get into all coming up next on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
The Piccalilli Inn in Shamong invites you for fun times in the Pines on the Pic Patio. Stop by for the game and order up their world-famous wings, an ice cold beer, or fun selection of fresh-made cocktails on a sunny afternoon or by the fire under a starry night. Skip the lane chains. Get off the beaten path and take the trip to the family-owned Piccalilli Inn this weekend. Route 206, Shamong.
If you can't stop in, stop back. The Piccalilli Inn.
I can't sleep.
What is it now?
It's the company. It's chaos.
What's chaos now?
The numbers, the expenses, the books. What if we get audited?
No one's gonna audit you at 3 a.m. Go to sleep.
I can't sleep.
You could if you used Ramp.
Who said that?
I don't care because they're right. Go to sleep and sign up for Ramp in the morning, Jerry.
Ramp is the corporate card that handles all your tedious financial operations automatically, integrates directly with your ERP, and gives you complete control over every transaction. Ramp gives you everything you need for bulletproof books and a better night's sleep.
Wow, that is exactly what my company needs.
Yes, and exactly what I also need. Go to sleep, Jerry.
Upgrade to Ramp for free today and get $250 at ramp.com/radio. Ramp.com/radio. That's ramp.com/radio.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
It's time to find appliances that fit your needs and your style at the Home Depot. Shop Spring Black Friday savings and get up to 35% off select appliances like GE Profile, plus free delivery. From all-in-one washer-dryer combos that can wash and dry a full load in under 2 hours to feature-loaded refrigerators with built-in autofill water pitchers, GE Profile has appliances made to simplify your life and elevate your home. Shop Spring Black Friday savings on top brand appliances and get free delivery happening now at the Home Depot. Free delivery on appliance purchases of $396 or more. Offer valid April 3rd through April 23rd. U.S. only. See store online for details.
Leonard Skinner, live in concert. Friday, May 30th, 9 p.m. Ovation Hall and Ocean Casino Resort. Celebrating 50 years of Leonard Skinner. Tickets on sale now at theoceanac.com. Leonard Skinner.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected. Also, you forgot to renew your website domain, and now you're in a bidding war.
You should see the look on your face.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room, and now everything smells weird.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident it can make your hiring easier that it lets you try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. So if you want the right candidates for all your roles, ZipRecruiter is the place to go. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. The Eagles have reached a 4-year contract extension with center Cam Jurgens. The deal runs through 2029, worth $68 million, includes $39.4 million in guaranteed money. He was entering the final year of his rookie contract. He took over the starting job last season after the retirement of Jason Kelce. The Eagles will be picking last in the first round of the NFL Draft Thursday night in Green Bay. Coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN. And as Super Bowl champions, they have the final pick in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. They have 4 selections in the 5th round, but do not have any picks in rounds 6 and 7. The Phillies are at Citi Field tonight as they begin a series with the Mets. Aaron Nola gets the start for Philadelphia. He's 0-4 with an ERA of 6.65. The Mets going with Tyler McGill. He's 2-2 with a 1.40 ERA. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
Texting and driving? Big risk, big consequences. You risk traffic tickets, fines, and if you crash and injure someone, you could even go to prison. Pay attention or pay the price. Brought to you by the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. A weak cold front arrives tonight, driving in some clouds and a smattering of raindrops, and that's it. There's really no difference in temperatures. In fact, we'll swing right back to the warm side tomorrow. Chance of a shower tonight, low 57. Tomorrow's high, 76, with morning clouds, then sunshine building in. Wednesday will be mostly sunny and pleasant, high 71. Thursday, partly sunny and 72. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Hi, I'm Justin, branch manager with Viking Pest Control. From ants in your kitchen to mosquitoes in your yard with termites threatening your home, Viking has a customized solution for you. Trust our local experts to handle the pests so you can have peace of mind. Learn more at vikingpest.com.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
On 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Of course, you guys can text in during the conversation as well, 609-403-0973. By the way, I'm selfishly having a whole side conversation with one of our texters about WrestleMania. It's actually pretty funny that it's like, oh, while I'm trying to talk to Ryan and run the station and do other things, I'm having a side conversation with a random person. I feel like I'm back at the bar or something.
What is it, on the text board or what?
Oh, it's on the text board. Yeah, you can go read it if you want.
Can you give everyone a synopsis of what's going on in that conversation or no?
Well, the individual basically is saying that the women's triple threat match was by far the best on Sunday. He thinks both triple threat matches were great. I replied back because I was surprised that Io Sky won. But it was a great WrestleMania moment. He says, Liv Morgan, Belair, and Rhea Ripley all not having a belt is kind of wild. I said, you're right. I understand Morgan losing the belt because it adds new storylines, but Ripley and Belair not having belts doesn't make any sense. He says, my predictions are that Bianca Belair is going to have a side quest with Jade. He thinks that Lynch is going to betray Bayley and Valkyrie. I told him I don't agree. I think Becky and Valkyrie's personal history will keep them as a tag team. Maybe Bayley teams up with Liv and Rodriguez.
It's a lot there. It's a lot to unpack. All right. I'm glad we got that straightened out.
What's on Ryer Sizemore here for the next segment?
Yeah, so NBA playoffs. I'm watching the first round, at least the first few games of over Saturday and Sunday, and once again, my main thought is the NBA needs to do something because, I look at like a team like the Houston Rockets, right? A team that's a 2 seed, a team that is a great story, has a great coach, has a great young team with a lot of talent, a lot of depth. They have a successful year, right? They're one of the few teams that actually plays hard. They play every night. They play hard and available over an 82-game season. They earn the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. And it doesn't really matter because, they got the Golden State Warriors, and the Golden State Warriors are a team that's won multiple championships, a team that knows how to get the job done, and a team that honestly is better than the Houston Rockets. Yet the Golden State Warriors are a 7 seed. And I look at this and I say, this can't happen. Like it cannot happen. You can't have this long of a season that doesn't matter. And you can have teams like Golden State sort of just go on cruise control for 82 games. And I'm not even suggesting that's exactly what they did, but you get where I'm setting it up. Go on cruise control, and they're going to end up, possibly making a run to the Western Conference Finals. We'll see. This series isn't over, right? Houston can still win this series, but to me, it feels like Golden State's going to win it. And it's a problem for the NBA. I think the play-in is not the answer. I think the play-in, honestly, can only make things worse because now you just have the opportunity of a 10 seed getting into like the playoffs. Like, you don't want that. So I don't know what exactly the answer is, but I know that the NBA needs to change both the regular season and the playoff formatting. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, the regular season losing its value is definitely a problem. I think it's a huge reason why the television ratings have been so erratic the last few years. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, that we used to be, Ryan. When you and I used to co-host together, we used to joke about how it's like, well, if LeBron is on, everybody's watching. If LeBron's not on, and if it's not Steph, nobody's watching. Well, it's not that simple anymore. It's way more like throwing darts at a dartboard, And frankly, if in today's world, I'm surprised that like there's not more people, I should say, not more people not going after Anthony Edwards after Saturday night. Him basically having the what measuring contest with the Laker fans out there, that being caught on camera, and it's like that should have been a talking point all over the talking shows this morning. It's like, no, it's like, is LeBron done? And it's like,
well, yeah, because it's the Lakers. So Anthony Edwards can go out there with basically in his boxers and not playing shorts or a jersey. Okay. And they're not going to talk about it. They're going to talk about LeBron. They're going to talk about Luka.
Well, if he does that, he'll get an endorsement offer from somebody for it. So
maybe
Haynes.
Not.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
Old Spice.
I love that game went the way it did, just because of all this Lakers talk and love. And I would love to see the Lakers make a run. I'm a fan of Luka, and I'm, LeBron, fine. I respect and admire LeBron in ways and don't in others. But, I think that series is going to go 7 games. And I would love to see Minnesota win that series. I really would. They surprised me. They surprised me a lot, Minnesota did.
See, I would like to see Minnesota win because I'm a huge Anthony Edwards guy.
Me too.
And I like the fact that they said, look, the cat experiment is not working. Let's try something else. And you know what?
But
Maybe it does work.
Maybe it does. Maybe it does. But, all year, see, the difference is without playing with Cat this year, an issue that they came across was teams have been doubling Anthony Edwards.
True.
And they haven't really had a second guy. Like Julius Randle, he's a walking, average of 20 and 8. But in the NBA playoffs, he hasn't really proven to translate that regular season success. But you get Daniels to drop 25 as a role player on the road in LA, that's gonna help your cause big time. So that was shocking. If they're able to get that secondary help from Anthony, other than Anthony Edwards' production, they're gonna win that series.
By the way, how lucky are the Nuggets to win that first game?
Yeah, extraordinarily lucky. Extraordinarily lucky. And they pissed me off so much because I thought that was such a cowardly decision to fire Mike Malone, because that's their scapegoat, right? Like, if Denver got swept in the first round, which obviously they're not going to now, let's say they lose in 5. It's, we fired Malone last week. What are we going to do? It's like they're playing with house money now, which was a good decision internally, but I just hate how they went about that, because you have Jokic, dude. You have title expectations. You can't keep letting Jokic off the hook like that.
Yeah, the whole thing in Denver is just so weird. Listen, selfishly for me, the 4 teams that I thought were going to have the chance to reach the conference finals are all still game for me. Because I thought in the West it's going to be Golden State or OKC, and the East is the Cavs and the Celtics. No offense to anybody else in the East, but I just don't see a scenario where anyone else in the East is even on Boston or Cleveland's level. Is that fair?
No, yes, it's very fair. It's very fair. Indiana's a nice team. Indiana's a team, but they're not. There'd have to be an injury to Cleveland or Boston.
Yeah.
The East is not good enough. It's going to be Cleveland and Boston, and I like Cleveland a lot. Cleveland. Yeah.
Really quick, the moment I realized that OKC was not going to let up that big lead against Memphis last night?
And
when Hartenstein got that offensive rebound and he chased it down like 10 feet away from the basket, like out past like the foul line, and like no one even tried on Memphis. They were like, well, he's got it. Never mind, And then Hartenstein just standing there like, is anyone going to guard me? And he just passes it right out and they reset the shot clock. And I'm just like, yeah, Memphis is losing this game.
OKC is good, man. OKC is good. When you have SGA go 0 for 10, whatever he was to start that game, and you're up by 30, it's you got that depth, man. Hartenstein is a problem. He is an unbelievable addition. They are so deep and so talented. They can just continue to go down further and further to their bench, and there is zero type of drop off there. And I equate Cleveland. I equate Cleveland to what the Sixers have potentially in Maxey and McCain, right? Because Gill brings this up all the time. He's like, Maxey and McCain are small, and I'm like, Gill, like, when you have 2 guys in the around the perimeter that are that type of level of talent, you can make a run. And like, you look at what Cleveland's done with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, and I continue to think about the Sixers when I watch them and say, all right, maybe the Sixers can build around Maxey and McCain like Cleveland built around Garland and Mitchell.
But I will say the difference is that the part of the reason why Cleveland can build around those guys is because they got Mobley and Allen. You know what I mean? They got 2 guys who offset it defensively, right? It's like, hey, we got these 2 small guys. If someone gets past them, we got these 2 tall trees in the back who can block shots. Like, the problem with the Sixers is it's been Embiid and nobody else on the back end. So it's like, if you're the Sixers, I don't mind McCain and Maxey, but it's like, I need a real power forward. I don't need, no offense to Yabusele, but he's a guy coming off the bench. I don't want him starting.
Yeah, no, you're right. You would definitely need something that excites you in the front court for sure. But just to have that building block there with those two guys offensively, I think can get you as a Sixers fan excited and hopeful. But yeah, Cleveland's deep. They're talented. Mobley's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. You know, they're obviously on another level than the Philadelphia 76ers. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Cleveland, as long as they stay healthy, they're going to be able to give Boston a run for their money.
Before I let you go, NFL draft coming up.
Yeah.
Any Monday thoughts, feels, vibes from Ryan Rothstein over here?
Not really. I mean, I saw some reports of like maybe the Eagles trade up. Like I don't see the Eagles trading up in any way this year, given their position and given what they have already on their roster. We'll see. I mean, it doesn't seem like a Howie Roseman type of thing to do.
It's not.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see, of course, where Sanders goes. I still believe that we're not talking enough about Travis Hunter. I think this kid is going to be a generational talent, and he's going to be able to play both ways, and he's just an absolute stud. So we'll see. Obviously, I'm curious to see what happens with those two guys.
Yeah, I think as long as Hunter goes to a team that lets him play both ways, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
It sounds like Cleveland's finally willing to do that. They keep calling him Shohei Ohtani and Unicorn and blah, blah, blah. So
if you're Cleveland, can you just stop acting like Cleveland just for a minute and just say, you know what? Let's get Hunter and let's let him do whatever the heck he wants.
Right, whatever the heck he wants.
Just stop acting like Cleveland.
Yeah. By the way, I'm surprised it's 5:43 and either you, Earnshaw, or nobody else brought up the A.J. Brown stuff.
That his car got stolen?
Yeah, and they found it. They got it back to him. But it was that whole video where he's like, if I find you first.
Yeah.
You
Someone needs to call A.J. Brown and be like, listen, bud, you're actually probably not going to win that battle. All right. Philly's a war zone, dude. All right? You're going to lose.
I do think it's funny. They did get him his car back. He thanked the police department. Apparently the police tracked it down for him.
How many, unfortunately, it's sad, how many cars are stolen on the daily in Philly? They get none of them back, but somehow they got A.J. Brown's back that quickly. Amazing.
Well,
it's a miracle.
Well, it's two reasons. One, because he probably has some sort of special tracker on it that other people don't have their cars.
Maybe.
And two, I'm sure there's like random tips coming to the police. Yo, I saw A.J. Brown's car.
Definitely. Yes, good point.
At Wise Rye on the Twitter X platform, he's Ryan Rossi. He'll be back tomorrow with Mike Gill here on Rye or Cy on 97.3 ESPN. Ryan, great stuff today.
Thank you, my friend.
Josh Hennig here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. I got texts coming in. Shaner in EHT. Your text and more coming up next on 97.3 ESPN.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
With GMF financing, qualified buyers excludes Traverse and Corvette excludes prior sales.
Why is Bennett Chevrolet the area's most popular dealer? It's simple. Bennett sells new Chevys at the true GM supplier employee prices, not a penny more. Plus, Bennett gives you all the rebates, saving you up to 20% on your new vehicle. And there's more. Bennett's got available 0% financing, saving you even more money. And there's never any hassles, no haggles, just the best prices you can find. Plus, if you're looking for pre-owned, Bennett's giving you a minimum $10,000 for any trade you can bring. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for any vehicle you can get here. And you guessed it, there's no hassles, no haggles, just a minimum 10 grand for any trade. Savings up to 20% on new vehicles, a minimum $10,000 for any trade towards any pre-owned in stock, and there's never any hassles, no haggles, and no negotiating needed with our non-commissioned sales team. They're paid on your satisfaction. Together, let's drive. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Hey, Joy. Oh, you are glowing.
Oh, hey. More like Mira joyed that Miralax helped me go. I was so backed up. Tried mega coffees, prune juice, everything. Then Miralax. And hello, gentle relief without the harsh side effects.
Ooh, how does it work?
It works naturally with the water in your body for constipation relief. Find Miralax today at your local retailer.
Use as directed for occasional constipation.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your boat, boat wins.
What are you going to do? Take the boat out for a spin or go mail something?
Boat wins!
Are we cleaning the patio or taking the boat out fishing?
Boat wins!
Are we skipping that eye exam to go sailing?
Boat wins!
Rescheduling eye exams can be a nightmare.
All right, fine. Eye exam, then boat.
Yeah!
With Progressive, you can bundle your boat with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings on your boat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
Oh, by the way, Ivan's no longer on the project. His wife got a new job, so they're moving across the country.
Robin's top researcher is deviating to a new market. This isn't standard.
And now we're short-staffed. Who's gonna finish all these projects?
She needs a cluster of new data analysts, and there's no margin for error.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better. Stay fresher under pressure.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. 'Cause I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Okay, raise your hand if you want to make your life a little bit easier. Great. Now raise your other hand if you like to be comfortable. Perfect. Now that you have both hands raised, imagine putting on your shoes. And that, folks, right there is your answer to an easier, more comfortable life. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. This is footwear you don't need your hands to put on. They can be raised in the air, and you can just step it and go. Why don't you experience what people can't stop talking about? Life-changing Skechers Slip-ins. Get your Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Right now at the Home Depot, shop Spring Black Friday savings up to 35% off select appliances plus free delivery from top brands like Samsung. Get tech you can trust to simplify your daily routines. From all-in-one washer dryers to smart refrigerators with Family Hub. Upgrade your kitchen and laundry with trusted technology from Samsung, ranked #1 in customer satisfaction. Get Spring Black Friday appliance savings and free delivery now at the Home Depot. Visit jdpower.com/awards for more details. Free delivery on appliance purchases of $396 or more. Offer valid April 3rd through April 23rd. U.S. only. See store online for details.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card, good for use at Provenza Restaurant and Event Center on Wellington Avenue in Ventnor for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
5:50 on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig been filling in for Mike Gill for the last few hours here on 97.3 ESPN. If you actually missed Mike Gill calling into his own show from Parts Unknown, you can check that out coming up in the next hour. No game night tonight. We'll be replaying some of the interviews from today on the Sports Bash. For those who are wondering, yes, I'm still having the back and forth conversation on the X platform. Follow me at Josh Hennig. Look at your text before we wrap up the hour. Shaner and EHC, George, Summers Point, and more. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. I want to get to Shaner and EHT first because I thought his question was very interesting. He says, we need a long man. Ranger has earned a starting spot, but he can be a bullpen arm. Walker is up in the air and has not earned it, and I don't trust him. He says Painter is a starter, but still under a serious pitch count. What if you just use him as a long man? Is it an insult to him and his development, or is it a solution to the Romano issue? That's from Shaner and EHT. So a lot there. I don't know if it's an insult to him, but I think the Phillies have a specific role and vision for Painter. Earlier in the show, Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad brought this point up, Shannon, which is major league teams value starting pitching more than bullpen arms. So in the Phillies' mind, they look at the long reliever, they look at the bullpen as we can find somebody to do that. Whereas they look at the starting pitchers as we need to make sure we're more solid there. So I think Painter is going to be more likely to be a starter just because they value that differently. I don't think they value Walker that way at all. Like you said, Ranger has experienced the bullpen, so maybe that's where he does go. So I think that at the end of the day, Ranger might be the guy in the bullpen with Walker and then putting Painter in the starting rotation. George Numbers Point says, hey, Josh, any concern about the Phillies' lack of home runs over the past week? As long as they win, I'm not concerned about it, but I just want to get your opinion. George, I'm not too concerned with the home runs because of the fact that it's not like they're not hitting no home runs, right? Like Harper's hit a couple home runs in the last 5 days. Schwarber, he cooled off a little bit this weekend. I think he's still a threat. I think that the home runs will come. Charlie Manuel used to say, the summer is hitting season and that, one of Kyle Schwarber's best months each year is June. He's a monster in June. So I think as the weather warms up, you'll see more of those home runs from Schwarber, Harper, Castellanos. I don't know if Bohm's ever going to become like a legitimate home run hitter, but you might get a few more launched off of his bat down the road. Maybe a few launched off of Turner's bat. But remember, there's really only like 3 legit home run hitters in this lineup, George. So I'm not overly worried about the home runs because I know that outside of Schwarber, Castellanos, and Harper, this team doesn't have a bunch of legitimate power hitters that are going to go deep on a night in and night out basis. So I look at it as, hey, if Turner, Bohm, Stott, and let's say Kepler, they're giving you something, I'd rather be something than nothing. All right, fun show. Thank you all for tuning in to the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig, I've been filling in for Mike Gill, who will be back tomorrow right here on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, this Thursday, the Eagles draft party at the Gallery inside Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. That's where Mike Gill and the team will be at to give away Eagles Club Box seats. We are counting down the days to the NFL draft. You can hear it exclusively right here on 97.3 ESPN. Have a great night, everybody. We'll catch you tomorrow.